What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in DC as Bruce Wayne? The Strongest Batman. Part 6. If you enjoy this type of content, please furiously deliver thorough justice to the like button. For Gotham. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Remember to check out the original story linked in the description. Let's get into the rise of the strongest Batman in history without further ado. I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do best isn't very nice. Wolverine, Marvel. Bruce Wayne POV. I still don't understand. Why am I here with you two? I asked with an exhausted sigh as I walked at a tired pace in between Talia and Nissa with about a dozen shopping bags in my hands. I wasn't tired physically, but mentally I was completely drained because of the extreme amount of shopping we have been doing for the last few hours. The three of us have currently come to visit Gotham Central Mall, one of the top luxury grade malls in the state of New Jersey that Wayne Enterprises recently acquired to increase its retail business. Huh? Don't you feel ashamed even to ask me that? You're having regular shadowinking with Selina for hours without even being the least bit tired or apologetic about it, and you're getting exhausted after just carrying a few of our bags despite possessing that enhanced body of yours. Nissa complained while giving me a stink eye. How do you know about that? I asked with confusion etched on my face, wondering if these two sisters were somehow spying on me during my happy time with Selina. Almost everyone in the entire mansion can hear Selina's moans and screams during your lovemaking sessions. Alfred has even started wearing a special pair of earphones to make sure that he doesn't hear anything he doesn't want to. I think you should only do it in soundproof rooms if you don't want half the staff in the estate touching themselves in arousal every time you discipline your kitty. Talia answered on behalf of her sister in her bid to tease me. Also, Selina likes to talk about her wild sleepless nights with you during breakfast the next morning in an attempt to make us jealous. She carelessly added with a snort. Yes, she was right. The two had all but directly told Selina about wanting to be in a relationship with me. Contrary to what I was expecting, Selina's reaction to the fact was almost abysmal. The only negative expression she had on her face after realizing what they were implying was a look of regretful defeat, like she had lost a match or something. It was not at all the look I was expecting on a girl whose boyfriend was soon going to shaboink someone else. However, she has become a lot more active in shaboinking after that, almost completely giving in to her primal desires. Kinky was probably a light way to describe some of her day-to-day urges. Also, she liked showing me and my shaboinking powers off to others, especially the fact of how she belonged to me. She had become more like an animal proudly flaunting her territory. Jealous? She can never make me jealous. She doesn't have anything that I don't. As for the fact that I still haven't slept with Bruce, it's just because we both decided to take this slow to make sure that I thoroughly get to enjoy the entirety of what true pure love is. Nissa defended as she looked at me for approval, which I gladly gave with a nod of my head. Also, why the hell are you here to annoy me on my date, sis? Shouldn't you be managing the high table and the new hotel chain that is being established all over the world? Nissa asked with an extremely annoyed expression on her face. They can manage without me. I don't have enough time to micromanage everything. Both you and I know that almost every one of the remaining league members that we trained from scratch is absolutely loyal. The ones who were not were the ones we took in later in their lives, when they were no longer children. They were the ones father wasn't able to mold into becoming his tools, but those people are already gone. They betrayed us the moment father died. The ones who are still with us or the new ones who are being trained will kill themselves before they even think of betraying us. After all, absolute loyalty is one of the reasons why the League has always been so powerful. Talia coldly replied, a vengeful tone audible in her voice. It seems that she is furious at not only her father, but also the ones who left the League after Ras Al Ghul died. To her, they were her family in a twisted sort of way, and they betrayed her by abandoning her the moment her father died. And as for why I am here, don't you remember wanting to share Bruce with me because you thought he would be too much for you alone? You wanted me to help you, and so here I am. If I am going to sacrifice my body to help my little sister take on such a playboy, I might as well enjoy the entire process, including the dates as well. Talia again reverted back into her easygoing, playful attitude as she gave me a suggestive wink. After Nissa permitted Talia to date me alongside her, she had been extremely active in flirting with me. I have been holding myself back from jumping her bones as much as I can, but I have no idea for how much longer I'll be able to do so. All I could do was just release all my pent-up frustration on Selena every night, since I didn't want to betray Nissa's trust in me again by sleeping with her elder sister even before her. Why the hell are all the girls in DC so playful and seductive? It's the complete opposite of Marvel, where almost every beautiful girl is crazy and sick in the head in some sort of way. I pondered to myself. TCH, such a hoe. Nissa muttered to herself as she focused her attention on the fashion products displayed outside the luxury stores, while tightly holding my arms between her melons. Also, I never said that. I am sure that I can pleasure my boyfriend quite well. The only reason I agreed to let you in as well was because I pitied you. Otherwise, if I had not agreed, you would never be able to get a boyfriend or husband in the future. That's interesting. Her nipples suddenly grew hard. Is this because of me and the ongoing dirty talks, or the expensive products she has been buying all day? I wondered to myself as I curiously stared at the delightful expressions on both of the sisters' faces. This was apparently the first time they had come shopping. Their father wasn't exactly known for pampering his daughters, and had never even allowed them to go to a mall, much less buy fancy stuff for themselves. However, regardless of that, they were enjoying themselves very much and had big smiles on their faces as they did their best to empty the credit cards I had given both of them. Well, truthfully, when I agreed to go on a date with them here, I hadn't expected everything to go this smoothly. I had thought that fate would want me to suffer a little and make me live through some faces-slapping moments where some random salesperson would try to humiliate me in their stores because they would feel jealous of me all of a sudden, or some upstart young master would try to one-up me by insulting me in front of Nissa and Talia. In fact, I was even waiting for those moments to occur so that I could show off my wealth and power a little. But unfortunately for me, this was the real world, or at least the DC world, and not some cheap wuxia setting. Salesmen in luxury stores here were actually trained enough to not insult customers in any way, and even rich young masters had the basic decency and minimum brain cells required to know that acting like a living piece of entitled shit in front of everyone for no reason at all would just be a shortcut for the media to absolutely destroy their public image. Also, the biggest reason of all that this didn't happen was because this was Gotham. People might not know the identities of their own parents here, but everyone knew who Bruce Wayne was and what type of power the Wayne family held. No matter how much I tried to stay below the radar, pictures of me were abundantly used by the media to attract readers and viewers every day. The title of the Prince of Gotham wasn't just a fancy tag to describe how rich I was. It was given because of how immensely popular I was here as well. Alfred had sued a lot of media companies and pulled a lot of strings to make sure to keep the media away from me when I was young and underage, but now that I was a complete adult and probably one of the most attractive men on the planet, people just seemed obsessed with me, and no amount of lawsuits could keep them away from taking my pictures every time they spot and identify me in public places. Maybe I should run for president one day. President Bruce Wayne does have a certain ring to it, although President Batman would probably sound even better. I mentally chuckled as I imagined myself in a tuxedo sitting in the Oval Office surrounded by senators with the classic bat mask on my head. Somebody help! A cry suddenly broke out from outside the mall, along with the distant sound of a firing assault rifle echoing in the air. Nissa's eyes immediately widened, with her hand instinctively reaching for the hilt of a concealed blade. Talia, on the other hand, ever composed, scanned the crowd with her eyes, trying to assess the threat. She didn't take out any weapons, but I was damn sure that she was carrying at least a dozen different blades concealed somewhere in her clothes. I, too, shifted into my vigilante mode as my senses attuned to danger. Outside, chaos erupted. An armed gang of criminals spilled through the mall's entrance, their faces obscured by crimson masks. They clutched duffel bags, heavy with stolen fresh and crisp bundles of cash, their first heist, no doubt, since I had never heard about them before. A tall man wearing a tuxedo and a weird red bucket over his head that barely covered half of his face seemed to be their leader. What sort of man wears a bucket to hide his face? Is he crazy? Can he even see through that? I wondered. But the robbers weren't the only ones armed here. The Black Mask Gang, led by the ruthless Roman Sionis himself, had cornered them. A turf war had just broken out before our eyes. A war between people wearing black and red masks. Nissa's grip tightened on my arm. "Shit," she whispered, her voice laced with urgency. I didn't even get to buy the sensual lingerie from the shop that Selena told me about. Omniscient POV. May I have everyone's attention, please? Roman Siones, the enigmatic leader of the Black Mask, called out, his voice a commanding presence even amidst the chaos among the public. I urge you all to remain calm, and I assure you of your safety. This altercation concerns only my associates and these misguided individuals in their red masks, who attempted to steal what rightfully belongs to me. His words carried weight, even as he fired his AR-15 rifle into the sky to catch everyone's attention. Rest assured, as long as none among you intervene, no harm shall fall on you. Once the stolen funds are returned, we can all peacefully resume our happy lives. Stole? No, we took what could be taken, and we aren't giving you back even a single dime, you black bastards. No, I don't mean skin color, Edward. I meant members of the Black Mask Gang. So stop looking at me like that. The leader of the Red Hood Gang, whom Bruce couldn't recognize since he had never heard of him, snapped at one of his own men before focusing his attention back on Romani's. Anyway, as I was saying, you might have us outgunned, but you will never have me outdone. I will paint this entire mall red before I return even a single cent that we all worked so hard to steal. He yelled like an absolute maniac. The guy is dangerous, Bruce murmured from his position, his voice edged with a tinge of concern. His brief foray into the study of psychology in the past had equipped him with the tools to assess the different levels of danger posed by different sorts of criminals. He understood that the truly menacing criminals weren't just those who operated with intellect and caution. Rather, they were the ones who were driven by an insatiable desire for destruction and chaos, indifferent to the consequences. And this man wearing that weird red bucket on his head embodied that reckless abandon, a stark reminder of the havoc such individuals could wreak upon society when they had nothing else to care about. Oh, and you might not hurt civilians, but I certainly will. Today is going to be one hell of a red day. Pun very much intended, he remarked. Today is going to be one hell of a red day. Pun very much intended. He chuckled at his own bad joke, a stark contrast to the gravity of the situation unfolding around him, as he gestured to his men to round up the civilians around them to use them as human shields. Now, one thing that everyone knew about Black Mask was that he was smart. He might be ambitious with desires to grow his empire even bigger than Falcone's one day, but at least he was discreet about it. He understood the delicate balance required to evade the scrutiny of the federal government, the Gotham City Police Department, and above all, the vigilante shadow that lurked in the city's darkest corners, Batman. Aware that his survival depended on staying beneath their radar, Siones focused on less conspicuous endeavors like selling the less harmful drugs like cannabis and mushrooms while steering clear of the more lucrative yet perilous avenues of criminal enterprise. Moreover, he also adhered to one strict code: civilians were off limits, especially in public places. But because of the Red Hood Gang's leader, aka Red Hood 1, he was on the verge of betraying the one cardinal rule that kept him and his growing criminal empire safe and out of the cops' radar. Truthfully, Siones wanted to leave after having realized just how crazy the Red Hood Gang's new leader was. But he couldn't, because if he did, he would lose the street cred and respect that he had been cultivating in his men and the underworld for so many years. So, even while not at all liking what was happening, he still had to stand his ground to prove that he and his gang weren't at all afraid of the Red Hood Gang. The members of the Red Hood Gang, on the other hand, had already started taking several members hostage, hiding their own bodies behind the hostages to protect themselves from the bullets of the rival gang members in case a gang war started. Hey you, come here. You look big, you might be able to take at least a few dozen bullets before you turn into a pile of useless flesh. A random masked Red Hood Gang member near Bruce suddenly tried to grab him after noticing his extremely muscular physique. Both Nissa and Talia were ready to swiftly sever the man's carotid artery and jugular vein the moment his hand grazed Bruce's body. They even had their concealed blades as sleek as scalpels primed in their palms, but Bruce halted them with a subtle gesture before they could do anything. Bruce was acutely aware of the danger lurking beneath the innocent facade of the two Ghoul sisters beside him. Despite their beauty and unassuming demeanor, they were trained from infancy in the ruthless art of assassination. Their training left no room for mere incapacitation. They were honed to kill without the slightest hesitation or remorse. Bruce understood all too well that allowing them to unleash their lethal skills would not only result in the gang member's demise, but also force him into the unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. After all, how could he justify traveling with two individuals capable of dispatching others with such chilling efficiency, even though their target was a criminal? In fact, he could even see a few cameras from afar already aimed at them, waiting for anything exciting to happen. Also, Bruce didn't really need their protection, and this was a fact that both Nissa and Talia knew very well. Hurting Bruce even without any of his armor or tools wasn't exactly something a few mundane gangs could manage. Perhaps if it was an exceptionally powerful metahuman, there was a chance that Bruce would struggle, but in front of ordinary criminals like the Black Mask and Red Hood gang members, it was a walk in the park for Bruce if he wanted to get rid of them. The only concern for him was if he would be able to take care of them before even a single civilian was hurt in the crossfire. Cortana, Bruce asked in a bare whisper. The new Wayne security personnel are too far from your current location, so it will take some time for them to reach there, but the drones are already in position. I have my targets on everyone here and have calculated a 100% probability of achieving headshots on all targets before they can even react. Cortana's voice cut through the silence, transmitted discreetly through his newly adopted micro-earpiece. Should I take the shot? She inquired, her tone impassive, like she didn't really care that she would have to kill a dozen people if I said yes. Not yet. Let's observe how this unfolds. I'll give you the signal if it truly comes to that. Perhaps they'll resolve their conflict amongst themselves, sparing me the need to intervene. Bruce responded with a glimmer of hope in his voice. With a sense of empathy, he stepped forward, meeting the gaze of the gang member who had been persistently attempting to move him but failing to make him budge even the least bit. Despite the criminal's efforts, Bruce remained resolute, refusing to yield even an inch. However, now in a gesture of understanding, he positioned himself in front of the Red Hood gang member as requested by the criminal, silently contemplating the unfolding scene before him. Wait. Is that Bruce Wayne? One of the Black Mask gang members who had been staring at my face for a while, now whispered in his boss' ears. What the hell are you talking about? Why would Bruce Wayne be here of all places without any sort of security? Roman Siones abruptly halted his words, his incredulity palpable in the air as his gaze shifted to Bruce Wayne, whom he just noticed. However, that shock lasted only a matter of moments and soon melted swiftly into a blend of anger and annoyance, his features contorting with disbelief at the sight of the calm and collected billionaire standing before him. No chance they'll depart, my dear master, at least not without attempting to take advantage of you. Cortana's voice dripped with sarcasm in Bruce's earpiece. Rarely do two criminal factions in Gotham stumble upon one of the world's wealthiest individuals, unprotected. Well, technically, Bruce was the richest individual in the world, yet he didn't announce any public declarations of his financial status, refusing to confirm such details to any media outlet or publication seeking insight into his net worth. To the world at large, he remained merely one among the richest elites, the top 0.1%, with him being typically slotted within the esteemed ranks of the top 10 richest individuals. Both Forbes and Fortune consistently positioned him at the 6th or 7th spot on their coveted lists. My. Will you look at that? Another player in our Mexican standoff. The leader of the Red Hood gang, aka Red Hood 1, chuckled. He had heard Roman Siones' words and recognized me as Bruce Wayne as well, even though I had no idea just how he wasn't blind as a bat while wearing that weirdly opaque red bucket. Our own local billionaire, the Prince of Gotham, is here too. Goddamn, we were just fighting for a measly $1 million in front of a billionaire. Talk about a humiliating turn of events, he added, his tone tinged with amusement and a hint of sarcasm. What? You two want an autograph or something? Bruce could not help but tease as he looked at the slightly greedy expressions on both of their faces. The two looked like a pair of greedy gold diggers who had just seen their dream sugar daddy. No, but a few billion might be nice. After all, you were the reason I lost what was supposed to be my biggest strength to rule Gotham. This freaking red clown might have stolen $1 million from me, but you plundered my entire bank, Siones seethed, his teeth grinding as he leveled his rifle at Bruce, his attention no longer fixed on his rival gang. I thought you didn't want to harm any civilians, you black-masked hypocrite. Red Hood 1 snickered as he amusingly looked at the turnabout of the events, even wondering which bank was Black Mask even talking about. He's far from ordinary, a man of vast wealth and influence, reigning as the wealthiest man in the state. Roman Siones replied with an icy edge while methodically loading his rifle. I'll choose Bruce Wayne and his fortune over any number of common folks, even if it means extinguishing every damn life in this mall. His voice held a chilling certainty as he addressed the leader of the Red Hood gang before him, already scheming the avenues of profit this encounter might yield. So, are we destined for a gang war, or shall we forge a partnership and unlock billions together? While he may have missed out on securing the Bertinelli crime family's fortune, through the elusive Bertinelli diamond that he was never able to find, as well as failed in his bid to acquire the coveted bank, this opportunity, however, presented a rare stroke of luck, perhaps even a divine intervention for him. Determined not to squander it, Black Mask resolved to capitalize on this one-in-a-million opportunity. Any ensuing complications could be swiftly taken care of using the funds that he intended to extract from the young billionaire. After all, according to him, why would the government try to arrest him once he shoves a couple of $100 million down their corrupted tight little throats? Roman Siones had always prided himself on his restraint and cautious approach to crime, but for the first time in many years, temptation gnawed at his resolve. He just couldn't shake the feeling that now, of all times, a bit of greed might just be justified, that he might be able to get away with being a little too greedy. Bruce Wayne POV. It seems that I underestimated you, Siones. You do have some guts. I like a guy like you who can snatch any opportunity he sees. Fine, it's decided then. From now on, this mall will be under our control, including all of your pesky useless lives inside it as well. Haha, I have never had this much fun before. The guy called Red Hood 1 declared as he excitedly nodded at Black Mask while mocking the rest of the ordinary crowd. It almost seemed like he was enjoying this. The two bosses probably knew that it was too late for them to run, even if they tried to escape while taking Bruce with them. So instead, they decided to hold on to the mall and negotiate with cops using the hostages here instead. They knew that most people in a luxury mall like this would be from the privileged section of Gotham, and their families would do anything to get them back, including pressurizing the government and the cops to get them released as soon as possible, even if it meant letting the criminals walk away. The two gang leaders wouldn't even have to try that hard in their negotiations to get an escape route out of here, even if they were to take Bruce Wayne with them. They would have to go underground for a while till things cooled down due to the media and those loyal to the Wayne family, but they would survive nonetheless. As for the Wayne fortune, even a few measly signatures from him alone could make every one of them billionaires and make their gangs the richest organizations in the country. The rewards heavily outweighed the risks. Now, of course, this wasn't a perfect plan, but they could certainly make do with it. Whatever you are thinking right now, don't. You still have time to forget all this and leave. I heard that you are a smart man, Black Mask, so use some of that smartness and escape before it's too late. I advised with a tired sigh. I actually did want him to escape. I had big plans for him and his new rising empire. I wanted him to become as big as he could before I started the process of removing him from the equation. But instead, the guy is actually asking to be killed. Freaking dumbass. I could not help but mentally swear at his idiocy. Also, why the hell does he think that he can even survive if he hurts me in any way? Even if I were to die by some miracle, none of the gang members here would be able to escape. The two fuming sisters behind me alone would be enough to take care of all of them. As for taking my properties, these stupid idiots have no idea that people can't just steal money from billionaires' accounts or take away their properties by a few signatures. That only happens in movies or with the common people in the real world. The government and banks have much stricter rules in place to protect the wealth of rich people like me. The only money they would be able to steal somehow would be some physical cash and whatever I had left on my credit cards after the shopping trip, which was still a lot by the way, but almost negligible for someone of my stature. Now they could try to blackmail me into transferring my shares to them or writing them some hefty checks, but they could also just as easily be traced if I were to request it later to the government within a few days of the transaction, since none of my money is illegal and could easily be monitored even if it were to leave the country. So it might take some time, but they would definitely be caught no matter what. Of course, if cryptocurrencies had already been invented, the outcome would be totally different. But right now, they would be doomed the moment they took my money. I am sorry, Mr. Wayne, but unfortunately for you, we require a financier, and you have been chosen. But don't worry, we probably won't harm you as long as you cooperate with us. I am sure we can work something out in exchange for your life. I mean, what is a few billion compared to your life, right? Black Mask responded in a threatening voice. It seems he was quite confident in himself. They really need a finance guy, or better yet, a blood-sucking lawyer who can explain to them the difference between the poor and the rich in the eyes of the government. Can I shoot them now, master? They are not going to let you go anyway, so might as well get this over with. We can just claim later that your guards were keeping an eye on you as snipers, and they were the ones who shot to protect your life as well as the lives of all the hostages. Cortana requested in my ears with a complaining tone in her voice. Fine, but don't shoot everyone. Let Black Mask and a few others leave. Mainly the members of his gang. As for the Red Hood gang, I have never heard their name, so you can kill most of them but still leave one or two alive to not raise any eyebrows. Oh, and only take shots you are absolutely sure of. Make sure to not harm the girls or any civilians. I agreed with her. There were a dozen different ways I could have done this, but most of them would have put my identity at risk or incriminate Nissa and Talia in some manner. This was the most efficient way I could do this without putting anyone in any form of danger at all. Command received, Captain. All targets have been selected. 24 of 30 threats have been designated for termination. Cortana's cheerful voice echoed in my earpiece. You had to wake up and choose violence today, didn't you? I uttered in a low voice as I signaled to Nissa and Talia to not move, since I could sense that they were using their chi to get ready to attack two gangs. Anyway, best of luck to all of you in hell. Thud thud thud. Asterisk thud asterisk soft sound suddenly began to resonate in the surroundings as all the criminals dressed in black and red costumes began to drop like flies with gaping red holes in their skulls. All of them were clean hits with each bullet lodged directly at the center of their heads with no chance of survival whatsoever. The hell? Snipers! Take cover! Black Mask yelled in surprise as he and a few of the others in his gang jumped away to hide from the snipers. Red Hood One, who was the only one of the Red Hoods still alive, was also equally shocked, but instead of taking cover like the members of the Sionis crime family, he began to run towards the exit in an attempt to escape. He was either really smart, having realized that he wasn't one of the targeted people, or really dumb, just trying to run away on instinct. Even his way of running away was weird, like he was sprinting in a comedic manner, while trying to keep the bucket on his head from falling down. I left the leader of the Red Hood gang alive, sir. He is the only one of the Red Hoods I didn't eliminate completely to make it seem that the snipers just missed some of the people anonymously. Cortana explained. Why do I feel like I am going to regret letting him leave? I muttered to myself, ignoring Cortana. My guts were telling me to shoot the running man down, and the further he was getting, the more this feeling was intensifying. It was almost like not ending this man right here, right now, would be one of the biggest mistakes I could possibly make. But do I really want to kill someone and ruin a perfectly good plan just because my gut says so? But again, my instincts have never been wrong before. I thought to myself as I picked up the nearest firearm from one of the dead bodies and aimed it at the sprinting crimson-robed criminal who had even begun to laugh maniacally for some reason. That laugh, bang, the sound of a single bullet echoed in the air before the man called Red Hood One fell down in his tracks without even getting a chance to defend himself. But quite interestingly, it was not me who had actually shot him. This is the GCPD. You are all surrounded. Everyone, drop your weapons and get on your knees. Commissioner Gordon had personally entered the mall while leading about a couple of dozen cops behind him through the same exit Red Hood One was running towards. He was dressed in a bulletproof vest with a slightly smoking handgun in his hand. Black Mask, after noticing the cops, immediately surrendered as he and the few others of his gang who were still alive dropped their guns and slowly rose up from their covers with slightly shaking bodies. They were still reeling in shock from the death of so many of their associates. They still could not believe that so many of their people had died just like that without even being able to realize what was happening. Well, at least, most criminals will no longer try to come after me, now that they know how dangerous messing with someone who is filthy rich could truly get. That was a waste. If I knew that Mr. Gordon was going to shoot him, I wouldn't have let that man live. Now, your forces could be called inefficient for leaving so many of them alive. Cortana complained in a disappointed voice. It's okay, Cortana. You did more than just good. I praised her to keep her from feeling down. Talia and Nissa, who were just as surprised by everything as everyone else, approached me with curious eyes as they looked at the dead bodies. They seemed to have realized that I was the one responsible for the deaths, but from the uncaring expressions on their faces, it didn't look like they were at all bothered by the bloody massacre. The commissioner and his men, on the other hand, quickly apprehended the remaining criminals and began to help the hostages while leading them out, checking for anyone who was hurt. Bruce, you have grown a lot taller and quite good-looking too. No wonder, you are so popular among girls and teen magazines. By the way, you and your companions aren't hurt, are you? Jim Gordon asked as he approached us with a small and tired yet genuine smile on his face. It didn't even seem like he had just killed someone. But again, this was probably a regular occurrence in Gotham for someone like him. No, we are all right. You guys came just in time. Anyway, you seem really happy, Mr. Gordon. Any particular reason why? I asked with interest. Oh, the guy I shot, there was actually a psychotic criminal we had been after for quite some time. We had intel that he had recently replaced the previous Red Hood gang's leader while taking over his position, and since then, he had done his best to spread as much chaos and destruction as he could. From starting turf wars to killing innocent people for no reason at all, he had been destroying any remnants of peace he came across. He was a real nut job. That was why, the moment I saw him running towards us with a gun in his hand, I took the shot. Otherwise, I would have at least tried to arrest him. Oh, and call me Jim. Gordon makes me sound old. Gordon revealed with a half-smile as he signaled one of his colleagues to seal the bodies. Oh, congratulations. One less criminal for Gotham to worry about now. But is it all right for you to tell us all this? I asked with a raise of my eyebrows. Truthfully, it doesn't matter. They aren't going to fire me over a criminal who had a shoot-and-sight order on him. Unlike the rest of the smarter bunch of criminals, he didn't have any friends in the city government since he was just starting out, and a lot of people in Gotham's underworld wanted him dead for upsetting the power balance. I think even most of the members of the Red Hood gang didn't like him very much. They will probably be more than happy to elect a new leader before the day is out. Given that some other gang doesn't wipe them out or something. He shrugged. Although I would have to answer how so many of these criminals died before we even came here. Would you happen to know anything about the snipers who shot them? He asked. Yeah, I actually do. However, I think we should find a more private spot before I explain everything. I answered as I looked at the half a dozen people trying to eavesdrop on our conversation. Of course, let's go to a cafe. I'll treat you three to some coffee while taking your statements, or whatever else fancy drinks people like to drink now. Anyway, welcome back to Gotham Kid. Batcave, under Wayne Estate, Bruce Wayne POV. You think Gordon believed your words when you told him about your guards acting as snipers and killing all those criminals to protect you in a last-ditch effort? Alfred curiously asked while meticulously dusting the Bat computer in my Batcave. I believe he did. I mean, he didn't exactly have any real reason not to. After all, I didn't benefit from what happened in the mall in any way at all. In fact, if not for my news channels, websites, and newspapers heavily circulating the news of how the newly hired Wayne security force might have saved everyone's lives in the mall by making the hard decision, I might have had to face heavy public criticism. I nervously laughed as I remembered how heavily and seriously Vicky had been driving that particular media campaign. She was like the female version of Jabe Jonah Jameson, only more aggressive and a lot hotter. Yes, Ms. Vale really has exceeded all expectations. I heard that she even won this year's Pulitzer Prize for breaking news reporting because of how she fearlessly covered the entire news on Falcone and his terror in Gotham, along with how his reign ended after a certain masked anti-hero came into the scene to do for the people what the government and its genuine heroes couldn't. Alfred said while giving me a small knowing smile. Seems like she genuinely admires this hero of hers. Anti-hero. A hero is someone who can be the symbol of hope and love for the masses. An anti-hero, on the other hand, does whatever he wants without caring about consequences. Being a hero is probably a lot harder than being an anti-hero. And neither me nor the Dark Knight are heroes, Alfred. Anyway, why are you cleaning the cave yourself? I told you that MO can do it, right? That's literally why it was made. I exclaimed while pointing toward the small cleaning robot, obsessed with sanitizing, that was plugged into its charging station in a corner beside the Wall-E model I had once designed. Both of them, of course, were inspired by the Pixar film of the same name. I haven't yet succumbed to old age, young master. I remain quite capable of physical labor, especially after being bolstered by that serum of yours. Alfred lightly chuckled as he stopped dusting servers of the Bat computer and moved on to clean the sofa. And as for why I like to clean the cave myself sometimes. Your automated cleaning robots are indeed efficient, no doubt. However, there are occasions when the subtlest traces of grime and dirt find refuge in the most inconspicuous of corners, necessitating a more hands-on approach. It is then that one must be willing to delve into the depths and get down and dirty to remove that dirt. Just like an anti-hero. Alfred imparted his wisdom with a self-satisfied grin. So, an anti-hero is as much as important as any hero out there, because sometimes the world needs people who can go to any lengths to do what is needed, not what is wanted. However, don't even think for 1 minute that I am advising you to continue your anti-hero work, Master Bruce. I'll be much more relaxed if you just quit all this and do what all young billionaires do with too much money in their hands. I think at this stage, I can even accept a few teenage pregnancies than you going after another drug cartel. Alfred said with a bitter smile. Unfortunately for you, Alfred, I always make sure to have a plan B, C, and D. So, no teenage pregnancies in this house. Well, at least not any that I don't myself want. I joked with a straight face. That is not a funny joke, young master. Anyway, is that what you have been working on for the last few days? Alfred asked, pointing at a half-finished car that looked more like a tank than an actual car. It looks like a war machine. Are you sure that you want to drive that on the streets of Gotham? Imagine if someone managed to steal that, or perhaps carjack you. You are underestimating me too much. Plus, that is just one of the things I have been working on. In fact, I have been making an entire line of cars just for me, correction. An entire line of Bat-themed cars for me, correction. An entire line of Bat-themed cars, planes, choppers, bikes, and submarines for me. Actually, Alfred, I have been meaning to ask you, what do you think about a Power Ranger-style giant mech made up of Bat-themed vehicles? Do you think it would be over the top? I asked as I gestured to the various types of partially made vehicles lying beneath the platform where we were standing. I don't know a lot about movies and shows, but is that a Transformers? The amused butler asked, not even bothering to answer my question. Oh yeah, I started constructing that about a month ago, but I couldn't finish it. Turns out I still lack a few things to complete the model. Plus, I could not decide if I wanted a car type or a plane type Transformers. I hummed like it was a complicated question that I still hadn't figured out. Your family would have been proud of how much of a genius you are, young master. He uttered out of nowhere, looking like he was reminiscing about the past. Yeah, I know. But still, thanks for saying that, Alfred. Also, I still have a family, you know. And you are part of it. I answered back with a confident smile. Thank you, Master Bruce. It has been my pleasure to serve you and your family. Alfred nodded with a happy smile. So what's next? Are you going after another cartel? Alfred finally asked after taking a deep breath to gain his emotions back in control. No, not really. I don't think the drug cartels and gangs would try anything too big for the foreseeable future. Most have been shaken after the Falcone incident and the shootout at the mall. I think they will first fight among themselves to grow quickly, rather than take over more of the city or increase their illegal dealings and risk law enforcement stepping in. Honestly, I have been hoping that Black Mask and his faceless gang can dominate most of the Gotham criminal underworld, since that would make my future plans much easier. I revealed. And that would probably be what would happen too, since Black Mask had stopped any expansion plan he had after the mall incident and had instead been focusing on making his criminal family stronger by integrating all the other smaller gangs in Gotham into his own. As for how he was free, well, he was able to escape police confinement the very same day he was arrested. Turns out that the vehicle that was carrying him and his gang to the GCPD headquarters never made it to its destination. It mysteriously crashed on its route, resulting in the entire gang being able to escape. Well, it is good to hear that you won't be putting yourself in danger. He sighed with relief. Yeah, instead, I would be hunting all the psycho criminals, rapists and murderers in the city. I finished with a big grin. Alfred. What did I even expect? Alfred seemed to deflate like a balloon. With the fall in organized criminal and gang activity in the city, independent criminal activity has been recently spiking. Crazy freaks who had been laying low due to the fear of criminal families have been slowly coming out of hiding. And these weren't just normal criminals too. They were the worst of the worst. From straight-up serial killers to thieves who liked to burn people while stealing their money, they were the most tainted filth of this corrupted society, who needed to be stopped before they increased in numbers and power, thinking that they could do whatever they wanted in this city. They needed to be made examples of. I personally have been spending a lot to develop this city so that I can call it a decent hometown one day, so that I don't have to watch people getting murdered and mugged in every dark alley I pass by. And no mentally imbalanced piece of shit is going to ruin that for me. That was what I wanted to make Alfred understand, but unfortunately, our conversation was abruptly interrupted. Hey Alfred, there is a letter for you from London. Selina hopped towards us in an excited sprint with a sealed letter in her hands. There was an unusual smile on her face as she passed the letter to the butler, while sending a wink in my direction. A letter for me? Must be one of my old friends from England. He smiled as he calmly took the letter from her hands and began to read it. But as he read more and more of the letter, his face slowly changed from a startled to a nostalgic expression, and to again a surprised expression. I even thought that there was even a hint of a blush in there somewhere. What happened? Did the Queen of England write to you or something? Selina joked, trying to tease him. Huh? No, I never gave her my... Wait, why would the Queen write to someone like me? The butler chortled with a voice that sounded a little nervous to me for some reason. No, it's your godmother, Bruce. She is coming back from London, and it seems like she wants to meet you. Wait, I have a godmother? Wayne Enterprises HQ Gotham, Omniscient POV. Thanks for coming here and giving this place a chance, Winslow. I'm glad you still haven't given up hope despite all the setbacks you faced in your toy-making dream, with all the relentless pressure from corrupted defense and weapon conglomerates, trying to coerce you into selling them your inventions, so that they can make weapons off of them. Victor Fries praised while shaking hands with Winslow Schlott, aka the future Toyman. A month had passed since Bruce rescued Victor's wife from the brink of death due to her terminal illness. Her miraculous recovery had instilled an unwavering sense of gratitude within Victor, one that drove him to dedicate himself wholeheartedly to him and Wayne Enterprises. Despite Bruce not demanding any allegiance from him that day, Victor's commitment to repay the billionaire knew no bounds. He had resolved to serve Bruce in any capacity he could, even if it meant a lifetime of servitude within his company. After all, he was a man of his word. Determined to prove his worth, Victor immersed himself in monumental projects, striving to realize them to their fullest potential. From revolutionary freezing weaponry poised to redefine defense and cold chain logistics, to innovative cold suits facilitating exploration in frigid environments, as well as cryogenic methods promising extended space travel and possible life extension, he spared no effort in trying to bolster the company's growth and securing its position as the world's leading technology company. Yet, amidst all his tireless endeavors, Victor couldn't shake the feeling of not doing enough. Even working for 80 to 100 hours a week seemed insufficient to repay his debt. It was then that he recalled Winslow Schlott, a figure from his past, someone he had even considered a friend of sorts. He had initially recommended the eccentric inventor to Bruce as a gesture of gratitude for past favors the toymaker had done for him. But Victor soon realized the potential of harnessing Winslow's brilliance for Wayne Enterprises. Not only could Winslow's innovative robotics, AI, and machine learning technologies revolutionize Bruce's video gaming empire by diversifying into physical games and toys, but Victor envisioned broader applications across the conglomerate's various ventures as well. If he could somehow persuade Winslow to collaborate and integrate his cutting-edge technology into Wayne Enterprises' diverse portfolio, triumph in the realm of technological innovation would be all but assured for the conglomerate. Victor, it's been quite some time. To be honest, my trust in billionaires and corporations has waned a long time ago. My reaching out to Wayne Enterprises was only because of your recommendation and the increasing offers from various defense companies eager to acquire my technology. They just fail to grasp my steadfast refusal to contribute to warfare and violence. I aim to bring joy to children through the innocence of games with my creations, not contribute to genocides and massacres. I have never entertained any attempts by defense companies to purchase my technologies, but recently they have grown bolder, even resorting to threats against my wife and me. Most major toy companies have shied away from my creations, deeming them too advanced and potentially disruptive to their established product lines. The few companies that did express interest were forcibly suppressed by a particular large defense corporation bent on coercing me into selling them my designs. The past couple of months have been exceedingly challenging. Even the few stores where I used to once sell my handcrafted toys had stopped doing business with me, he confessed, his expression showing a sense of powerlessness. Wayne Enterprises may just be my last hope to see children playing with the toys I've crafted. I'm sorry to hear about your concerns. However, Mr. Wayne, as he might have conveyed over the phone, is solely interested in collaborating with you on developing new types of technologically advanced toys and games, not weapons. Regrettably, he couldn't make it to today's meeting due to an unforeseen emergency. Nonetheless, he has entrusted me with full authority to steer our discussions, Victor assured with a congenial smile, adjusting his sleek tinted eyeglasses as he slipped into his professional demeanor. We are ready to offer you the positions of Chief Design Officer and Vice President of Product Design within our newly established Toys and Games subsidiary. This includes an upfront payment of $100 million for your current designs, a 1% share of net profits from all your future toy designs, a substantial annual salary of $2 million, performance bonuses of up to $10 million, and an assurance of safeguarding your inventions and patents from any weapon-oriented endeavors. Victor magnanimously presented the same proposition Bruce had suggested, ensuring Winslow wouldn't decline them. Wow. Truthfully, this offer exceeds most of my wildest dreams, Schlott chuckled, a bead of sweat forming on his forehead as he asked wearily. But is he truly hiring me out of the goodness of his heart? Isn't there supposed to be a catch or something? Forgive me, but over the years, I've learned that when things appear too good to be true, they usually are. Don't misunderstand, Winslow. Mr. Wayne isn't playing the role of a philanthropist by hiring you. No, he recognizes your talent as an inventor and toymaker. He sees genuine value in what you bring to the table, and he's willing to invest in it. It's not just your toys that interest him, it's the mind behind them. He wants you on his team because he believes you're one of the few capable of changing the world. He envisions you disrupting the toy industry and bringing true joy to children with your innovations. So the real question is, do you share that vision too, Winslow Schlott? Victor delivered the grand speech he had meticulously crafted to sway Winslow into joining Wayne Enterprises, and as expected, it seemed to resonate with the toy maker up to some extent. Oh really? I actually share the exact same vision. While I had already sensed Mr. Wayne's interest in me and my work during our initial phone conversation, I never imagined he was this keen on having me join his company. You know what, I don't care. This decision shouldn't even warrant much thought from me, given that I'm already on the brink of attaining almost everything I wanted in my life. Winslow declared with resolve, his expression unwavering as he concluded. I accept the position. Rest assured, I will exert my utmost effort to fulfill my responsibilities, ensuring that every child in the world possesses an extraordinary toy to enrich their childhood. Excellent. So, congratulations, Mr. Winslow. Consider yourself hired. Fries congratulated warmly, extending his hand in friendship. We just need to finalize some minor paperwork, and then we'll transfer the upfront money for your designs as promised, along with your joining bonus. Mr. Wayne's team has already completed the necessary due diligence, so expect the funds in your account by tomorrow, Victor explained. Now, on to the most important question of the evening. Where should we celebrate this momentous occasion tonight? He asked, a playful chuckle in his voice. Celebrate? You mean like, go to a party? Winslow's voice carried a hint of uncertainty. Nobody's ever really invited me to a party. This will actually be my first time. Can I bring my wife, Maya, too? Absolutely. I'll call my wife, Nora, as well. We can all celebrate together. I mean, I did promise you back then when we first met that you'd get to meet my wife after she's healed. I think it's time I made good on that promise. I'm sure she'd enjoy Maya's company immensely, Victor affirmed, nudging a pen toward Winslow to sign the documents. Wayne Enterprises is poised to change the world for the better, Winslow, and now we're both part of it. Yeah, we're going to change the world. Here's to the future, Winslow murmured in a happy tone as he signed the papers, sporting the biggest smile he'd ever worn. Finally, his big break had arrived, and he was determined to make the most of it. To heck with all the dark thoughts that had been haunting him lately, now, he could pursue his lifelong dream. Making toys for children and spreading the same joy among kids that he himself had once experienced when playing with quality toys. Roof of the GCPD headquarters, Gotham. Omniscient POV, alone, Jim Gordon stood at the precipice of the GCPD HQ rooftop, his gaze drawn to the sprawling beauty of Gotham City below. A cigarette hung between his fingers, wisps of smoke curling into the night air as he absorbed the sight before him. His expression betrayed a mixture of awe and sorrow with the weight of the city's relentless crime pressing heavily upon him. Such a breathtaking city. It's almost impossible to believe that it tops the charts for the highest crime rate in the country, he muttered, a tinge of frustration lacing his words as he recalled the damning report from the mayor earlier that day. After getting the news from the mayor's office, hope had flickered briefly in Gordon's heart, a fleeting expectation that perhaps the mayor would make genuine efforts to stem the tide of crime. Yet, Gotham's corruption ran deep, and the mayor's directives served only to perpetuate the city's descent into darkness faster. Instead of addressing the root causes, Gordon was instructed to obscure the true extent of crime by ignoring petty crimes and masking assaults as accidents in official reports to artificially deflate the statistics. It seems you and I are in agreement. Gotham is indeed as dangerous as it is gorgeous. But again, all beautiful things always are. A deep voice resonated behind Gordon, bringing him out of his deep thoughts. He hadn't expected someone else to be here. The roof was supposed to be off-limits to most of the staff because of how a depressed cop had tried to kill himself by jumping off the roof a few years ago. In fact, Gordon was the only one who even came here anymore. Startled, Jim hurriedly turned to face the unexpected presence, finding himself face-to-face with the tall and leaning figure of the new Dark Knight of Gotham. Batman? Gordon asked in mild surprise, a frown on his tired face. I did promise our paths would cross again, didn't I? It's time we had a conversation, Commissioner, Batman asserted, his dark gloomy presence and inhumane appearance a stark reminder of the city's relentless struggle against its own shadows. Bruce Wayne POV. Yes. At last, I have found it. I happily exclaimed in joy as I finally succeeded in finding out what exactly made the Soulbreaker twin swords of Ras Al Ghul so unique that they could harm even souls. The sword was mostly made of an alloy of depleted promethium and was nearly invulnerable, but that was actually not its most amazing feature. What made it truly unique was its ability not only to touch but slay souls and spirits, much like the All Blades and Muramasa Blade that also existed in this universe. However, unlike the latter two, which were products of magic and mystic arts, these twin swords, however, did not have even a tinge of additional magic on them. I knew it because I had checked them for runes, spells, and rituals dozens of times already. No, in fact, the soul-slaying effect was because of the trace presence of an additional element in the alloy. This new element not only did not exist on the periodic table, but also had never been mentioned by any researcher or inventor ever before. It was similar in structure to promethium, but had vastly different uses. Although not as strong as promethium, it, however, emitted a unique radiation that could affect spectral beings when it came in contact with one. Also, the element was extremely dense and could be used as both solid and liquid at room temperature, so it might have some other uses besides cutting souls as well. Maybe I should name it too, since I was the one who discovered it. Let's see, how about Batmanium? I wondered aloud. I had once heard in my previous life that Superman had a medal named after himself, so I don't see why I shouldn't have one too. I swear your obsession with bats is getting worse every day, Tiger. You have got to check yourself before you fall too far. Selena commented while silently entering the cave without making a single sound. I already have Kitty. It is too late for me now. I have already dedicated my entire super/vigilante life to the theme of bats. You should take a lesson from me and save yourself by staying away from cats and cat-themed stuff. I sighed as I carefully kept the two swords back in their places. Anyway, why are you here? I thought you all were supposed to have a ladies' night out today. I asked curiously while raising one of my eyebrows. Oh, I was looking for the perfume that you made me. I have been using it quite a lot recently, and my entire bottle ran out. So, I need some before I go and party tonight with the girls. Its smell reminds me of you and your power over me, while giving me the feeling that I belong to you completely. She casually answered with a small giggle as she went through all the various chemicals stored in my laboratory, while sniffing them all in her search for her perfume. What I gave you wasn't perfume. It was an olfactory-based inhibitor derived directly from the pheromones produced by my body that neutralizes your extreme carnal arousal and desire for me, while also preventing your own body from producing the pheromones that are meant to excite me, thus saving both of us from being horny dogs all the time. I responded. Also, there is a perfume bottle in the third glass locker to your left, I answered. It turns out that Selena and I were attracted to each other so much because of the pheromones our bodies were passively releasing. Most animals and humans unknowingly release some number of pheromones from their bodies, however, little they may be to attract their opposite genders. We were the same, but, in our case, after the genetic treatments, we had become more than just humans. The number of changes that had occurred in our bodies had turned us into more or less high humans. Not only had our natural pheromones become stronger due to that, but also, me and Kitty were the only two high humans alive at the moment, the only two members of this new species. Our bodies knew this as well, and thus were doing their best to make the exact fact that we were extremely compatible known by making us horny every time we came close to each other. According to my calculations, this extreme carnal attraction in us would only last till we gain complete control over our bodies and bodily urges, which won't be long. But until then, we will have to depend on the special inhibitor perfume I designed to make sure that we don't spend all of our time shaboinking like rabbits. Oh, thanks, Tiger. Selena quickly picked up the atomizer bottle and sprayed a few puffs of the unique perfume on her body. I really love that smell. Anyway, I need to go now. Talia, Nissa, and Vicky must be waiting for me. I even promised to introduce them to my friend, Holly. So, smell you later, Tiger. Selena said while waving at me before quickly leaving in a cheerful mood. I guess she was in a good mood. I thought out loud while staring at the TV that was showing a rerun of a primetime interview of Jim Gordon with Vicky Vale. The two were having a detailed discussion on the criminal underworld of Gotham, the role of GCPD in the safety of citizens, and the rise of vigilantism. While Vicky was subtly supporting Batman's nightly activities through her expertly structured arguments, Commissioner Gordon, on the other hand, was trying to explain why unlawful vigilantism was unsafe for all parties involved, and why people should not follow Batman's example of beating down thugs to be a hero. He was making it clear through his statements that even though he appreciated the Dark Knight's work for the city, did not at all embrace his way of doing things. Instead, he advised night watches to keep the city safe rather than parading around in a mask and costume. He is a darn good actor. I chuckled as I remembered about the deal that I had struck with Gordon a few days ago on the roof of the GCPD office. Gordon, after many discussions and negotiations, had agreed to be my ally and contact in the GCPD department, provided that I follow some of his conditions like never killing any criminals, since I am not an official member of any law and justice department of Gotham, as well as doing my best to maintain peace in the city, while doing my own brand of cleansing on this corrupted city. In return, Jim would do his best not to interfere in my detective work or vigilantism, while also preventing his officers from doing the same too much. Bolstered by Gordon's promise to work alongside me to cleanse Gotham, I had even started planning to make a more improved and advanced version of the famous and iconic bat signal to signify my presence in Gotham at night. A special distress signal device that can project the bat emblem even during the day and can change the symbol of the projection based on the degree or category of danger. That will be quite a fun torch to make. Master Bruce, we have a code yellow. One of the individuals who have been considered a high threat level by the GCPD has resurfaced after his last perceived offense. It is advised that we apprehend him as soon as possible to prevent any unnecessary future casualties. Cortana suddenly chimed out as she gave her advice. A code yellow. That normally means a serial killer, right? I wonder, who is it? Omniscient POV. It was so fun, wasn't it? We should do this again sometime. Maybe we can go on a date again next Friday. A man who looked like he was in his mid-40s asked with a slightly blushing face. Forgive me if the date today was weird. I have never dated a doctor before, nor have I ever dated someone so young. The man said in a giddy and excited voice. It's okay, I didn't expect too much anyway. After all, I loved the fact that you talked about your inferiority complex with your elder brother for more than half of our date. It was so entertaining. Also, I am a psychologist, not the type of doctor you are expecting me to be. The girl, who was in her early 20s, answered in a flat tone of voice, trying to make it clear how disinterested she was in having another date with him. But unfortunately for the man, he didn't realize that fact at all. Yeah, potato potato. I'll call you later to confirm the date then, and don't worry, I'll get your phone number from Lisa. The man quickly said with a large grin before the girl could reject him and began to leave without even giving her a chance to retort. Damn it. The girl whispered in frustration a few minutes after the man had left at the thought of having to spend another evening with a creep like him. She wouldn't have agreed to go on even a single date with him if she knew that he was such a jerk. In her defense, she harbored no desire for romantic entanglements. It was solely at the behest of her only friend that she even entertained the notion at all. Armed with the skills of a gifted psychologist, she found most individuals as easy to read as an open book before her discerning gaze, their flaws, and secrets laid bare without effort. This uncanny ability rendered life devoid of intrigue or exhilaration, leaving her disenchanted and detached while further disinteresting her from trying to make a relationship work. Even if I were to get into a serious relationship one day, my boyfriend should be one hell of a Casanova or a walking shadow-inking machine for me to ever fall in love, since getting genuinely attracted to a guy because of his personality is almost impossible for someone like me. All guys have terrible personalities. I would much rather fall in love with a big prick than wait for something that doesn't even exist. She thought to herself as she watched her date leave in his car without even asking her if she wanted a lift. Yeah, like I am ever going to go on another date with you. Over my dead body, humph. She grumbled to herself as she lamented the fact that she decided not to bring her car today. Maybe I should just walk. Normally, she would have just waited for a cab, but for some reason, she had suddenly begun feeling a strange sensation like someone was observing her. She could feel a sense of danger to her life, prompting her to quickly start walking towards her home as she dismissed the needless worries and fear in her mind as nothing but accumulated frustration born from overwork and the absence of a healthy social life. But what she didn't know was that the strange feeling wasn't just a trick of her mind. There really was a shadow that was silently following her trail like a predator hungry for food following after its helpless prey. Omniscient POV. Strange. Why am I feeling like someone has been following me for some time? The young female psychologist thought to herself with a frown as she turned her head around to see if someone was following her through the empty streets. But much to her relief, there was no one there behind her, with the only thing that was moving on the streets being shadows. The roads were mostly empty, with no one visible as far as her eyes could see. She had almost reached her apartment building, which was in the quieter part of Gotham, and she knew that cars were a rarity in her area at this time of night. So she was actually rather glad to see that the streets behind her were empty than be scared or suspicious. Perhaps I am just overthinking things. After all, Gotham is not as bad as so many people on the news make it out to be. The woman lightly chuckled at the stupid thoughts that she previously had as she stopped in front of a small, shabby building. She had finally reached her destination safely. But even though the residential building itself looked old and worn down, most of its residents, on the other hand, actually preferred it over the other buildings in the area, primarily because of the new electronic pin-based digital lock and fingerprint system that was installed recently to secure the entrance from break-ins. In a city like Gotham, security was given much more importance when compared to luxury and convenience, and the fact that this building was one of the few affordable buildings that used digital locking systems and had CCTV coverage, as well as all the required permissions and legal documents, was more than enough for someone like her to choose this building despite its old appearance. The young woman didn't continue to dwell on her thoughts and approached the door before typing in the 6-digit PIN that she remembered, but strangely, the entrance refused to budge. Wait, they were supposed to change the PIN today. I did receive the letter about the change. What was it again? Oh yeah, I remembered now. She snapped her fingers in realization after a few seconds of deep thinking. Unfortunately for the young shrink, however, her hands were never able to reach the digital padlock to re-enter the PIN. Because before she could type in her PIN code, a pair of hands suddenly cupped her mouth from behind and locked in her hands. Then she was quickly dragged away towards a dark alley. It all happened so quickly that she wasn't even able to process everything in her mind, much less respond and resist. When she did start to give her all to resist the strength of the figure holding her, it was already too late. They were already in a dark, secluded alley, away from the sight of normal people who could be walking by at this time, people who could have rescued her. Shoo, baby doll. Don't resist, I am here to help you. I noticed how bored you have been with your life recently. You too have realized that this life of ours is meaningless, haven't you? That we are just robots sleepwalking from one distraction to another? Don't worry, I too was similar to you, a slave of the unseen forces. But I have broken away from its control. I am free now, and I will free you as well. I will liberate you from this pointless existence and make a true human out of your zombie-like reality. Trust me, miss, from today onwards, you will be free in every sense of the word. Oh, and love your shoes, by the way. The figure behind her spoke in an unhinged yet respectful manner as the coldness of a thin metal blade touched the center of her throat. She didn't have any idea of who this person was, but one thing was clear for her. She had already understood from her knowledge as a criminal psychologist that the kind of person who was currently holding her at knife point wasn't some sort of criminal who was committing a crime out of need or necessity. No, she quite unfortunately wasn't getting robbed. This was a person who seemed to enjoy doing what he did. It was clear from his voice that he was enjoying the thrill of holding her life under his thumb. He was even enjoying the very thought of killing her whenever he wanted. This was not an ordinary mugger or thief. He was a serial killer through and through, and he was the worst kind too. He was a delusional serial killer who believed every word that had come out of his mouth till now. A maniac who truly believed that he would be helping her free herself by killing her. She knew that even if she could speak right now, there wouldn't be any hope of changing his thought process or convincing him to let her go. He was determined to kill her, and he would do it no matter what. Unless she could somehow overpower him and escape, this was probably not going to end well for her. Now, let's get you into a good position, ma'am. I want you to be as beautiful and lively as possible after I free you, so I need you to get into a good pose. By the way, which side of your face is your photo face? I normally prefer the left side, but I think your right can be just as beautiful too. Maybe, if you lose those glasses, we can truly bring out that inner beauty of yours. The male behind him again said without any hint of a joke before turning her around to make her face towards him. After being allowed to turn around, the woman was finally able to see the appearance of the person who was trying to kill her. The man looked like a middle-aged bald guy, wearing a pair of work boots, tight jeans, a white tank top, suspenders, and a leather jacket with an open zip. She could also see countless thin scars on the visible parts of his chest that were carefully made with some sort of small blade. They were most probably the trophies that he liked to give himself every time he successfully killed a target. Every serial killer liked to remember his victims in some sort of unique way. Perhaps making scars on himself was his preferred choice of doing exactly that. Ah, I was right. Such a beautiful and young face. Just using one side of your face would be a waste. Wait, maybe. The killer looked like he was going through a light bulb moment. How would you like to be suspended from the wall in a ballet dance position? It would be beautiful, my best work yet. He thoughtfully said, looking like some kind of artist who was mapping out his canvas. I'll call it the dance of freedom. Just make sure not to move around too much. If I mistakenly cut too many wrong veins or arteries, it can make a mess and ruin the final product. He warned with a huge grin on his face as he pressed her knife harder onto the young woman's throat. The woman tried to speak to somehow convince her captor to release her, even though she knew that pleading and begging from victims only encouraged bloodthirsty people like him to further continue their work. But as a woman who was currently staring straight at death's face, she didn't really have an option here. She couldn't help herself but do exactly everything any normal woman would do in her place to somehow have a chance to live through today. No one truly ever wanted to die, and she was the same. Stop moving around, woman. I am working here. Oh yeah, that's the sweet spot. The blade would cut perfectly through there. Now, stop squirming. God, I hate it when all the women suddenly start thinking to themselves that they can beat a man who has abs as thick as the woman's entire body. This ain't Hollywood, lady. You aren't kicking ass of a man 5 times your weight. He mocked as he tightened his hold on her face with his left hand and got ready to deliver the killing blow with his right. The young woman quickly closed her eyes in absolute dread and fear for her life, while she hopelessly waited for everything to be over. She had dozens of regrets in her mind. Regret of never finding love, never having a family of her own, never having her first kiss, never going to the new Waneland theme park, never being able to completely cure the mental health of a criminal, and most of all, never coming across a mind that she could truly call utterly captivating. She couldn't achieve anything that she had wanted to achieve. But as she waited for her demise, burdened by a torrent of regrets in her mind, with 2 thin streams of tears tracing delicate paths down her cheeks, an unexpected sensation enveloped her: nothingness. The end she was waiting for never came. Instead, she heard something else, something terrifying, almost demonic. It was the voice of another person, someone who would change her life through this encounter, someone who would show her just how deep a rabbit hole could go. Omniscient POV. Just as the man was going to plunge his blade into the young girl's neck, something weird happened. There was a sharp whistling sound in the air, like a blade cutting through the wind. However, the seemingly mentally imbalanced man was enjoying the moment too much to care about that sound and didn't slow down at all. But that turned out to be one of the biggest mistakes in his life, because the very next moment, all the fingers of his right hand, which was holding the sharp blade, were missing, cleanly cut out from his hand by something extremely fast and sharp. What? The man was at first confused about what had just happened. He didn't understand why the girl who was supposed to die by a single slash of his blade was still alive, while he was the one who was feeling like he wasn't going to make it. But he didn't have time to further ponder the reason for this, because the pain of losing his fingers suddenly hit him like a freaking freight train. Aha. Shit. Oh. My hand. My goddamn fingers. Damn it. Shit. She thought. The man continued yelling while looking around in search of his missing digits, as moisture slowly gathered in his eyes due to the immense pain he was currently feeling. How the hell did my fingers get cut off so fast? He somehow groaned aloud in pain after trying to forcefully calm himself down a little. But he understood the reason for this the very next moment when he noticed his freshly cut off fingers, which were still leaking red blood, lying on the ground along with a bat-shaped blade sticking out from the concrete beside them. The Dark Knight. He gasped in surprise as he recognized the cursed symbol that most criminals of Gotham had started to dread after what happened to his last boss. The Penguin, as well as the biggest crime lord of Gotham, Carmine Falcone. Where are you? Show yourself, you coward. The man yelled as he quickly closed his wound with a scarf that he had in his pocket, after which he took out 2 handguns that he had hidden in his jacket. However, internally, Zash was still hesitating. He was no stranger to danger, but the Bat was different. The rumored vigilante demon of Gotham was not someone any criminal could just go ahead and antagonize without expecting any sort of punishment. Victor Zash, a deep voice was suddenly heard speaking with a low growl. It is time for you to finally face the retributions for the crimes you have done till now. It informed as the voice seemed to come closer and closer. Instantly, a black-clad figure swiftly dropped from the rooftop, landing silently behind Zash like a trained ninja. And unfortunately for Victor, it really was Batman, the Dark Knight of Gotham. His cape billowed, as his helmet concealed his features, leaving only the unnatural monstrous appearance of his armor's faceplate visible for the criminal to see. However, instead of being afraid, Victor's lips twisted into a manic, twisted grin. Ah, the Bat. You are just as terrifying as advertised, just as good. But you won't stop me. You see, I am the chosen one. This is my fate, just like dying and becoming free is that girl's. She's already marked. Now, it's my responsibility to relieve her of the terrible boredom that she calls her life and, as a result, free her of her mortal binds. Even after listening to his words, Batman, however, didn't flinch. "You won't hurt anyone else anymore, Victor Zash." Batman's voice was cold, unyielding. "At least, not on my watch," he uttered as he stepped forward, his presence commanding with each of his words seeming more like an order than a request. Zash didn't waste more time and lunged forward in an attempt to take on the vigilante in a surprise attack, desperation fueling his aggression. But Batman was faster. He dodged Victor's wild swings, even though each blow thrown by Zash was calculated and efficient. He, however, didn't even try to stop Victor at all, and let the Psycho's left fist hit him on his armor with full strength, which only served to break the unfortunate Psycho's hand as he crumpled to the ground in pain. "God, that's so hard. What the hell are you freaking wearing, reinforced steel?" Batman, ignoring his remark, took this opportunity and began to rain multiple hits on Zash's body, to hurt the guy as much as possible. After breaking a couple of ribs on his chest, he stopped and loomed over Zash's broken form while the killer weakly groaned, blood pooling from the wound around his missing finders through the handkerchief that was now painted completely red. "You, how dare you? Pant, do you have any idea just how many people I have helped? How many people I have freed till now?" Zash screamed in anger while huffing. "You see this mark? This one I made on my neck after liberating a blind 17-year-old from her colorless life on her birthday after I freed her parents in front of her." Although in hindsight, she had a really boring personality since she didn't even get afraid when I had my blade just in front of her. But my point is that this is my responsibility as the chosen one. This is what I truly stand for. Who the hell do you think you are to stop me?" Zash uttered with pride in his voice. His words were not just cruel, they were absolutely terrifying and clearly showed just how much broken he was in his mind. Even the young psychologist who was doing her best to hide behind a trash can in fear felt disgust at the man. For a brief moment, she felt so angry at him that she just wanted to take a bat and bash the Psycho's head in. She had heard from some of her associates and colleagues that Batman had never killed any of his victims yet, but she really wished that the vigilante of vengeance would make an exception this time for disgusting filth like him, because she knew just how easy it would be for the man to prove himself mentally imbalanced in front of the court and avoid punishment with just a few years' treatments in Arkham Asylum, which never seemed to work, and a light slap on his arm. In fact, there was even a high chance that he would probably escape much before his release date in Prison Break or something. At least, most criminals did. "You're a disease," Batman responded after a few seconds of silence, his voice suspiciously low. "And I'm the cure," he concluded in an apathetic voice. Bruce had always hated it when criminals like Victor Zash, who truly deserved the punishment of death, got to live. He always thought that such mentally sick people should be awarded death. But today, he realized that he was wrong. Guys like the Joker and the Riddler deserved death because at least they owned up to their crimes. They admitted that they had killed. But criminals like Zash didn't even own up to it. They don't just lie to their unfortunate victims and others, but even to themselves. They are the real cowards, and yet, they have the gall to take pride in their work. "Death is not enough," Batman muttered aloud, barely veiled disgust lacing his voice. "You deserve worse. So much worse. Death would be the easy way out for you," he whispered in nearly an inaudible voice. It was so low that even the young woman behind him was unable to clearly hear his words. "What do you mean? What are you going to?" Victor wasn't able to complete his words as a heavy punch from Bruce instantly dislocated his jaw, stopping him from saying anything anymore. Zash screamed in pain as he struggled to move or speak, but that was not the end of the punishment Bruce had planned for him. It was just the beginning. "You should go back to your home now, ma'am. And don't worry, he will never annoy you again." "He won't be able to," the caped vigilante ordered in a stoic voice as he slightly turned his head to look at the blonde woman shivering behind the trash can. She was probably really afraid, maybe even mentally scarred for the rest of her life. He felt really bad for her, but there was nothing he could do. The only thing he could offer was his apology for not arriving sooner. Thanks." The woman mumbled with a gulp as she got up and quickly left after giving him a thankful nod. After he watched her leave the alley, he focused his attention back on Victor, who was trying his best to get up. "You let her leave? No worries, I will get her back. Now, I know where she lives." "Ha ha ha. Fine, take me to the cops. I guess I can use some rest. I heard the asylum even got renovated recently. Some of my friends said that the beds are much better now." Zash mocked with a painful laugh. He was pretty confident that Batman couldn't do more than break a few of his bones and take him to the cops, since the vigilante placed his faith in the justice system of Gotham. Especially after that woman had already seen them together. You took so many lives, Batman growled, his voice a low, menacing rumble. You destroyed so many futures. You deserve this. With surgical precision, Batman took out a bat-shaped Swiss blade-sized knife from his utility blade, its gleaming blade catching the dim light of the warehouse. In a swift motion, he sliced away Zash's eyes, rendering him blind to the world around him. Next came his tongue, the instrument of Zash's twisted maniacal lies and manipulation, severed from his mouth with a cold detachment. Then the nose, the source of his insatiable thirst for blood, was removed with a swift and calculated swipe of the black blade. Wait, what are you doing? Don't please, don't ahhhhhhh. The blood-curdling screams of Victor Zash resonated throughout the alley as he lost all his sensory organs one by one. But the Dark Knight still wasn't finished. Taking out the bat tool from his utility belt, he switched on the sonic pulse gun mode and unleashed a deafening blast of sound at the psychotic killer, shattering Zash's eardrums and silencing his screams forever. And finally, as Zash lay broken and helpless before him, blood dribbling from his various orifices, the vigilante delivered the coup de grace. With a swift strike, he broke Zash's backbone and spinal cord before severing a few of the nerves that connected his body to his brain, ensuring that he would spend the rest of his days as a quadriplegic, forever confined to a wheelchair, unable to harm another soul. Bruce had done so much damage to his body in a calculative manner that although Zash wouldn't die, he definitely could never be cured by anyone or brought back to his full health. He would forever be limited to the very boring and colorless life he dreaded with no hope of ever escaping it. This would undoubtedly hurt my public image a little, but it was definitely worth it. I guess Vicky would have to put in some extra work to make me the hero in this incident, and turn the story into something that would make me seem less cruel and more heroic, Bruce murmured to himself as he looked at his handiwork. Now, to disappear before the cops arrive. I really don't want to be here to explain to them why I did what I did. He thought to himself as he turned on the thrusters in his suit. Also, you should go back home now. The night is getting darker. You don't want another psycho to come after you, do you? He warned the young woman who still hadn't left and was observing him while hiding in a corner outside the alley. He had sensed from the very start that the girl had never gone home. She had been waiting and observing their exchange. At first, Bruce had thought that she was an ally of Zash, but soon, he realized that she didn't have anything to do with him. Either she was really curious, part of the media trying to sniff out some attractive news, or just wanted to see her perpetrator suffer. But whatever the reason was, Bruce just didn't care. Whatever statement she would give to the cops would hardly affect him since he could always turn it around by using the news and social media platforms to influence the public perception. Plus, he was a vigilante, not a hero. His reputation hardly mattered to him as long as the government wasn't actively trying to arrest him and bring him to justice or something. Anyway, he had done his duty by rescuing and warning her. He didn't think he had to do more than that. After warning her, Bruce didn't feel the need to say anything further and just blasted away from the scene. However, what he failed to notice at that time was that the young girl wasn't there looking at Victor Zash, who had already lost consciousness, nor was she recording the event in any manner. No, she was in fact looking directly at him with eyes that spoke of pure curiosity and expectation. It was like she had just discovered a forbidden pleasure that she had only thought existed in her imagination. However, somewhere within her eyes, there was something else as well, something that was quite compulsive, like an unhealthy obsession. Garage of a certain Wayne family orphanage, Gotham City. Omniscient POV. Hey Jason, look at this. Presumably, the new vigilante named Batman literally broke a serial killer's spine last night so that the criminal could never kill anyone ever again. All the news agencies of Gotham are having a field day with this news. They even reported that he also blinded the guy, cut away his tongue and nose, and destroyed his eardrums as a punishment for his crimes. Wow, he is really serious about making Gotham a better place, isn't he? You know what, he has my full support on this. This city needs someone like him. Unfortunately, they didn't release any pictures of the guy, otherwise, I would love to see the anguished face of the killer in his current condition. Maybe criminals would be a little less afraid of killing now. A small orphan boy who looked like he was about 12 or 13 years of age excitedly spoke as he showed a newspaper page to his friend, who was working on what looked like a rough framework of a motorbike in its early stages. That's so badass, man. But I doubt a superhero like Batman needs your support. Some even say that he is not even human but a fallen angel who escaped from hell to punish evil. He is the spirit of vengeance who judges the sinners of Gotham City after the sun sets. I support what he does too. Although he is still not as awesome as my idol. The kid's friend replied with a huge grin on his face. There you go, once again starting your endless praises to the guardian angel of Gotham. I mean, I greatly admire that man too, Jason. But you are just obsessed, man. In fact, everyone I know in our orphanage is his admirer since he did so much for us orphans, but you, my friend, are an absolute fanatic. Sometimes, you even sound a little gay. The kid had to think for a few seconds before he remembered the word that he had learned a few days ago from one of the elder kids in the orphanage. HEY, I am not gay. Also, even if I am a Wayne fanatic, so what? Bruce Wayne is one of the few rich people in Gotham who actually cares about orphans like us, and who does something to change the city. Not just the city, he is literally changing the world with all the new medicines and inventions his company keeps coming up with. He sends us to school, gives us some of the best food that we have ever eaten since he took over, and even sends gifts during Christmas and Thanksgiving. He also gave scholarships to Big Brother Jack and his friends to attend college. They were even fortunate enough to be hired by him after graduation. Man, I really wish I could work for him one day. Jason responded with a thoughtful gaze as he looked at the newspaper in his friend's hands. But Batman is a superhero while Bruce Wayne is just an ordinary businessman and philanthropist. Batman literally beats criminals every day while all that Bruce can do for the city is charity work. I don't think they can be compared on the same level. The boy with the newspaper in his hand still tried to argue to uphold his favorite hero's honor, albeit with a slightly deflated voice. I do admit Batman is making the city a safer place by taking care of its criminals. Even the few stupid experts who are complaining about him being cruel to criminals have no idea just how heartless those very same criminals can be to ordinary people like us when they are allowed to roam free. But Mr. Wayne is making Gotham a better place, a much better place, not just a safer place. So objectively speaking, yeah, Bruce Wayne is much better than a superhero in a bat costume according to me. Jason continued as he proudly took a quick peek at the poster of his idol hung on the wall of the orphanage's garage in a way that almost seemed like he was seeking his validation. Also, haven't you heard? Mr. Wayne has been recruiting people in his new private security company to help fight against crime, not just in Gotham but all over the world. I am sure they could do the same work that Batman is currently doing and more. Big Bro Jack even got hired in the new squad as one of the leaders. In his recent visit to the orphanage, he even told me that he had already completed a few secret missions. Also, even though he refused to answer any of my further questions on the subject, rumor has it that this security squad of Mr. Wayne was the one responsible for assassinating all the members of the Red Hood gang and the Black Mask family a few weeks ago during their attack in the mall. Huh, they truly deserved that for trying to harm my idol. Jason nodded happily. Sigh, I am just wasting my time trying to argue with you, man. Fine, you win. Bruce Wayne is better than Batman. Now, I'll be in the canteen eating today's special dessert, French apple tart, while you can keep working on this shitty cycle and daydreaming about being Bruce Wayne's lapdog all you want. The kid said in an annoyed tone before he stormed off while muttering something about nobody having enough respect for superheroes. Huh? Hey, where are you going? Wait, I'll come with you too after I finish completing the skeletal structure of my motorcycle. Can you at least save a slice of apple tart for me as well? Please. Jason shouted to try to get his now angry friend's attention, even though it had no effect. I wonder what got into his pants. Well, whatever. Once I succeed in making my own unique motorcycle from scratch, no one can stop me from being recruited by Wayne Solutions, even if it is only as a researcher. From there, I can just lowly climb the ranks to one day work with Bruce Wayne himself and change the city together. Yes, just wait for me, Mr. Wayne. I'll be joining you soon. Fingers crossed. I might even be able to join that security force one day and lead it. He yelled while raising his fist with pure determination in his voice. Bat Cave, under Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne POV. Achoo, is somebody talking about me something? I spoke out uncertainly, especially since it was almost impossible for me as a high human to get sick or allergic to something. What's the matter, Bruce? Are you alright? Clark Kent, whose face was visible on the screen, asked, concerned about my sudden sneeze in the midst of our conversation. Huh? Oh, it's nothing. Maybe some dust got inside my nose. Anyway, coming back to what we were speaking about, what happened after you found out about your, space cradle? Did you find out anything else about your species or your planet? I curiously asked my favorite pen pal. Nothing, it was mostly empty. The only thing I found that might be of some value was a small key-like device that could open up the ship. However, I think there is another spaceship on this planet somewhere besides the cradle that I came here in, since something inside the cradle suddenly began reacting to something after I turned it on. But I think I will have to work a lot harder if I want to find out all the secrets about my birth. Clark answered with a weak smile. Clark and I have continued to maintain contact after I returned from Smallville. In his words, not mine, we have even become best friends in a way. Truthfully, it was more than easy to win his friendship, as I was the only pal of his who knew about his extraterrestrial origins while still not changing how I normally behaved with him. Also, my being deeply involved with his family in their farm business and his father's political campaign as a sponsor and financier was another reason why we had such a good relationship with each other. I see. But look at the bright side. At least, you are not some crazy tentacle alien who wants to force himself on human women to make more tentacle alien babies. I joked to lighten the mood. Although that does bring the question if you can get hard in the first place. Joke all you want, but always remember that I am not the one who has a man making his bed for him. Ha, Clark began to giggle like a kid at his own joke as I rolled my eyes at him. Anyway, jokes aside, thanks for warning about the storm, by the way. You saved a lot of lives here in Smallville. In fact, you and Pops are now heroes within the entire state of Kansas with how much you two contributed to help people out during the storm with shelters and food. My father's political career has never been higher before. There are literally people requesting him to run for president next term. Even Mom has become a celebrity with how much relief and charity work she has been doing. Clark revealed with a big happy smile on his face. Don't mention it, I just did my work. What's the use of having advanced satellites and machines and not using them to help people out? But still, that's cool. I guess your parents are quite the celebrity now. What about the Luthor family? Have you met them recently, especially the young asshole heir? Nah, I haven't met Lex for some time. His father, the senior Luthor, once came to Pops to make some sort of shady illegal deal, but left after hurling a few desperate insults our way once my father said a firm no. I heard that their company almost went bankrupt because of how he was involved in some scams. But the situation is better now that Lex has taken control of the company. Maybe he will turn up a new leaf. Clark hopefully stated. Although I don't have the slightest idea about what happened with Lex's sister. I hope she is okay. She always seemed physically ill during our school days. He said with some genuine worry lacing his voice. Yeah, I hope she is okay too. She had much better manners than the father-son duo at the very least. Maybe I will organize a meeting with Lex soon to check up on her. I muttered to myself, which Clark clearly heard from the other side of the screen due to his super hearing. Anyway, I will have to leave now, Clark. I have an appointment with a friend of mine. But, best of luck with that world tour you were talking about. I really hope you can rediscover yourself and figure out your purpose like I did mine. I wished him luck, knowing that the world was going to need the Man of Steel sooner than later. Yeah, bye, take care. Oh, and steer clear from that bloodthirsty Gotham vigilante. I heard that he made a criminal into a quadriplegic after beating him into a bloody pulp. You never know what a dangerous person like that might do in the name of cleaning up the streets. Clark expressed his clear dissatisfaction through his facial expressions. Yeah, even though Clark knew that I wasn't exactly an ordinary rich kid, he still had no idea that I had powers or that I was the Dark Knight he did not approve of. Truthfully, I could see why, given how much of a genuine goody two-shoes he was. It was almost like it was meant for him to one day become the symbol of hope and peace for this world. But that was all he could be. The light at the peak of dawn. I, however, was his complete opposite. I was the darkness of the blackest night. Like him, I wanted peace too. The only difference between me and him was that I would stop at absolutely nothing to get it, no matter how many criminals I would have to bury in my garden to bring dawn the next day. Yeah, sure. Bye. I said while forcing a smile on my face before quickly ending the call. Now that was tiring, I muttered. Your new plane is ready, Bruce. You can leave whenever you want. The others have already reached Greece. They are waiting for you, so I advise you to leave as early as possible unless you want Selena to deny intimacy to you for the next week, while Nissa and Talia tease you until you nut on your own. Cortana's hologram form warned from behind me before adding, Hurry, Gashijinsama, your shabawinking life is in danger, to tease me. Oh really? And what about Alfred? He is enjoying too with his new crush. I asked while ignoring her taunt. It's actually more like he is your godmother's new crush. But yeah, they are definitely enjoying, to say the least. He and Miss Tompkins might even be giving you a godbrother in a few years if their young romance blossoms even a little more. Cortana answered in an amused voice. Somewhere above the Mediterranean Sea, Bruce Wayne POV, the aircraft's autopilot has been engaged successfully, sir. Cortana's voice echoed through the plane speakers. Current weather conditions are favorable, with clear skies and no atmospheric disturbances, ensuring smooth flying conditions. You may now rest easy until we reach the borders of Europe. I've initiated active monitoring for any criminal activity in Gotham during your absence. I'll compile a detailed report for your review later, while I'll take care of any minor tasks. Thank you, Cortana. I don't know what I would do without you. You are a blessing in a not-so-well-hidden disguise, I commended, prompting a blush in her holographic form. Oh, and I have already decided on the initial android body that you will be using to test out how comfortable you are in a physical body and what changes you might desire in your body. I will start working on it after we return home. Maybe I should finish the solid/hard light project that I had been previously working on too. That would not only vastly increase your physical usefulness as my trusted digital assistant, but also might be able to help in providing better training facilities as well. I pondered, ultimately deciding that completing both projects was of paramount importance to maximize Cortana's efficiency. After all, even I sometimes feel weird with so many of her robotic tentacles continuously working diligently in the Batcave. Thank you, my dear master. You are too kind. The AI assistant tried to make an anime-like cute face while showing a huge smile on her face. No need for that. However, you should stop acting like an anime girl. Remember, I am the one who is going to decide what your new body is going to look like. I threatened. Maybe I should give her a body similar to the twins from Atomic Heart. Although that might be too much since that would just cause me to have a constant boner whenever I am around her. I don't know if I am a weirdo or a pervert of a special kind, but something in their body structure looked extremely hot to me even though they lacked actual faces. Maybe, I'll make them later when I establish the Justice League. They could be very good maids for the members of the League, or perhaps caretakers of the League headquarters. I wonder if the rest of the members would also sport constant boners because of them. That's not fair, master. You are blackmailing me. Cortana complained with a pout as she narrowed her eyes at me, like she could guess what was currently going through my mind. It's cold cunning. I joked. Anyway, what about the project I commissioned? Did the bank approve the loan for it? Or should I say, did my bank approve the loan for it? I chuckled. Yes, the loan request has been approved. But are you certain about pursuing a $5 billion loan for a hospital project? Given that we're not primarily a core medical company, it seems excessive, especially considering that the budgets for past Wayne family hospital projects have typically capped at $200 million. Of course, there's impressive potential for profit upon completion, but investing in industries like semiconductor technology or defense could yield higher returns. Cortana offered her candid feedback, struggling to grasp my rationale for such a significant investment. It's not merely a business venture, Cortana. It's a tribute to my father. The Wayne Memorial Central Healthcare Center was his vision, a dream to establish one of the world's premier medical facilities in Gotham. Profit is important, but it's not the driving force behind this project, I explained, clarifying my intentions. Indeed, it was true. According to Alfred and my new godmother, Leslie Tompkins, whom I have only recently met, my father conceived the idea of the hospital during his college years. Influenced by Miss Tompkins, his closest companion at the time, who aspired to become a doctor and aid communities worldwide, he envisioned a vast medical center in Gotham dedicated to treating and researching a myriad of diseases. Before Miss Tompkins departed Gotham to pursue further studies and research, they made a pact. Once she became a proficient doctor, my father would finance their shared dream hospital. From providing free treatment to orphans to establishing a medical school and conducting advanced research on various medical conditions, it aimed to be a comprehensive medical solution for the city, a noble and ambitious vision that resonated deeply with me. After all, making that dream come true was the least I could do as Bruce Wayne. This medical center was meant to be realized long ago, but Miss Tompkins's burgeoning career, my father's political endeavors, and opposition from Gotham's corrupt city government presented formidable obstacles. They had planned to commence the project after my father's anticipated election victory, but tragically, his life was cut short before that could happen. So, it was now up to me to fulfill his dream. According to what Alfred told me, my parents had formally acknowledged that Mississippi. Tompkins was my godmother, just like they had named Alfred as my godfather. She had even attended a few of my birthdays when the previous Bruce Wayne, was younger. In fact, I even remembered her face from some of OG Bruce's memories. She wanted to be there for me after my parents died that night, but she couldn't find the courage to face me. She felt like it was her fault that the Wayne couple died because she had left Gotham. She felt like she had abandoned them. Initially skeptical, my doubts dissipated upon meeting her. I understood that she was telling the truth. She carried massive guilt within her, guilt that made it almost impossible for her to come in front of me without succumbing to tears. Despite attempts to reach out, including even coming to Gotham once to meet Alfred and me, she never dared to make it past the mansion gates until recently when she finally found the resolve to get over her grief and guilt. Her newfound determination led her to pursue her and my father's shared aspiration, aiding the citizens of Gotham. The decision to construct the hospital was of course mine alone. I knew that she was in no way responsible for the events surrounding my parents, and I harbored no resentment toward her for her lack of communication, despite her self-imposed guilt. Upon her arrival at our estate, there was a palpable romantic tension between Alfred and her, reminiscent of two former lovers reuniting after a long separation. They probably had quite some history between them. Regardless, I resolved to fulfill my late father's dream hospital project and appointed Miss Thompson as its medical director. Now that I think about it, maybe I should give Alfred a seat in the board too. He would be able to spend some time with Leslie that way despite their busy schedules. Truthfully, I could have just built the hospital without taking a loan. The profits that Wayne Solutions has been making from different enterprises had accumulated to be quite a lot, but I needed that liquidity for something else. The 2008 stock market crash and mortgage crisis were coming soon, and I knew that I could make hundreds of billions of dollars if I used that money smartly. Money would permanently stop being a concern for me after that. It's rather ironic. On one side, I'm overseeing the construction of Gotham's largest medical center, while on the other hand, I am simultaneously delving into research on crafting superior addictive, abuse drugs. I mused with a wry smile. Yes, you heard correctly. I've been actively formulating various types of drugs intended to replace the current array of abusive substances saturating the market. These alternatives would deliver comparable recreational effects, elevating mood, inducing euphoria, and creating happy hallucinations, yet without the detrimental health consequences typically associated with drug abuse. While modestly addicting, much like caffeine, these drugs would be considerably more affordable than the normal ones, comprising blends of essential vitamins, minerals, and immunity-enhancing compounds, available in an assortment of flavors. In fact, I've already devised several prototypes: Vita Pure Pot, Protein-Nirvana, Immuno-Euphoria, NutriBliss, and Health High, each having different effects aimed to replace different types of drugs. It is a known fact that quite a substantial portion of Gotham's populace is entangled in drug trafficking, distribution, and consumption. Realistically, I cannot entirely curb the illicit drug trade within the city, despite my diligent patrols and surveillance efforts using drones. However, with my own range of wholesome, addictive, and healthy drug alternatives, I could ensure that individuals derive tangible health benefits alongside their recreational indulgence from a use of their favorite drugs. Perhaps this innovative approach could even address nutritional deficiencies among certain demographics, offering a novel solution to widespread food insecurity, where essential nutrients could be ingested through smoking pot, thereby fulfilling bodily requirements. Bruce Wayne, the world's most infamous and biggest drug lord. It does have quite a ring to it. I excitedly remarked with a happy self-assured nod. What are you suddenly on about? Wait, you are once again thinking about your idea of ending world hunger through your new drugs, aren't you? Cortana guessed with a deadpan after noticing an evil smile on my face. Have some respect, Cortana. You are in the presence of the biggest future drug lord, I responded with a chuckle. Crack boom, the sudden crack of lightning followed by an explosion jolted me out of my comfort. I glanced out of the window, only to see the plane shaking perilously amidst the tumultuous skies. Hey Cortana, weren't you supposed to alert me about any adverse weather conditions? I queried, noting her holographic nod with a sense of urgency. Then why the hell didn't you say anything when we were barreling straight into a tornado? There wasn't supposed to be bad weather in this part of the ocean. It's like, that tornado materialized out of nowhere. But this doesn't make any sense. Even now, several of my sensors are malfunctioning. Maybe the storm has electromagnetic properties in it, and it somehow messed with my and the plane's systems despite their advanced technological sophistication. It's either that or... Cortana trailed off, hesitating to voice the alternative. Or this storm possesses supernatural properties. I finished for her. Sizzle boom, immediately another lightning strike, followed by a deafening boom, sent shockwaves through the aircraft. The wings of the craft erupted into flames, rendering the plane uncontrollable as it hurtled toward the swirling vortex, plummeting in a relentless descent. My holiday just got ruined, didn't it? Paradise Islands, aka Themyscira. Squinting eyes face, omniscient POV. A certain Amazon was strolling along the beach with an annoyed expression on her face, the cool sea breeze slowly ruffling her beautiful back hair. With each step, irritation simmered out from beneath her composed facade. Why don't they understand that I am not a young girl anymore, that I am ready to shoulder my responsibilities? Sigh, I wish Mother wasn't so adamant in her decisions. Why does she have to treat me like a child all the time? Even Antiope thinks that I am ready to do more than just train all the time. The woman thought dejectedly as her mother's overprotectiveness grated on her nerves, burning a desire in her for greater autonomy in her own life, while her teacher's reluctance to assign her more responsibilities only added to fueling her frustration further. Wait, what's that? She muttered after suddenly noticing a huge chunk of steel lying on the sand. It looked like it was a part of some big ship that got destroyed. Could it be that this thing is perhaps from the world of men? The woman asked herself curiously as she remembered a few of the outlandish stories that some of her sisters had told her about the giant iron ships that men used to ride in the outside world. A few seconds of looking at the giant block of iron was all it took for her to lose control of her own curiosity and slowly move toward the wreckage. Her better judgment was telling her to inform her mother about the wreck and bring a few more of her sisters to investigate it instead of taking a risk and doing it alone. But again, she was never one to be afraid of risks. She knew that if she were to involve anyone else in this, and if the news were to spread and reach her mother, she would no longer be allowed to explore the debris that she had herself found. She would lose her only chance to see something from the outside world, even if it is just some ruins. So she wisely decided against going back, and instead advanced towards the rubble to investigate herself. Approaching the wreckage, she discerned that the fragments of the ship were not just merely fractured but rendered utterly useless and completely inoperable, most probably from recurrent lightning strikes. Certain sections of the wreckage appeared so extensively scorched that one might even speculate this might have incurred the wrath of the gods themselves for some reason. By Hera, did Zeus himself strike down the ship in his wrath? She could not help but exclaim. What is that strange drumming sound? Wait, is that a heartbeat? She murmured, perplexed by the weak rhythmic throb echoing softly through the air, persisting with an unwavering tenacity. She was soon able to swiftly discern the source of the sound emanating from deep within the rubble, and without hesitation, began to quickly move the broken pieces of metal in an attempt to unearth the individual. She herself didn't know if she was doing it to save the person's life or just to satisfy her curiosity. Within moments, she was successful in dislodging the debris with her inhumane strength, revealing the charred form of an unfamiliar figure. While appearing quite human, just like her, the being's physique, however, diverged notably from the familiar physical features of her sisters she was used to seeing. It possessed a bulkier physique with very clearly defined muscles and a strangely charming face that seemed to attract her despite how badly it was burnt. Is this supposed to be a man? If he is, he doesn't seem to be that dangerous. Not even nearly as scary or brutal as Mother described them to be in her stories. However, I wonder what that thing between his legs is. She wondered aloud curiously, while thoroughly checking out the man's naked body. Maybe I can ask him, but going by how badly injured he is, there is little chance he would be recovering anytime soon. Also, I doubt Mother would even agree to spare his life, much less let him inside to let him heal. Once again, she found herself taken aback, for as soon as she spoke, she observed another remarkable detail. The man's body was undergoing a rapid healing process, a feat beyond the capabilities of most Amazons. Even she, who was stronger than most general Amazons, would require at least a few days to recover from such grievous injuries. The healing process was so fast that his wounds, which were there mere moments ago seared and barely held together, were now mended swiftly, transforming him from a piece of naked charred flesh to a naked charming man with a handsome visage within minutes. I have never seen somebody heal that quickly. Not even the unique humans in Sister Helena's stories during the Great War in the men's world were able to heal themselves that quickly from their injuries. Maybe he is special, she thought while watching him begin to squirm around in his sleep as he seemed to slowly come out from his slumber. So, he is finally waking up, huh? Within a few more moments, the man stirred tiredly, his eyelids fluttering open to reveal his vibrant eyes. Blinking groggily, he took in his surroundings before his gaze settled on the beautiful woman standing in front of him. Instantly, His eyes widened as his gaze settled on her thighs and muscles. "Hello there," he greeted her with a weak smile. "Does it hurt?" the man asked while observing her body. "What? Why would I be hurt, stranger? You are the one who appeared on this beach in a completely burned condition, aren't you?" she questioned, her confusion evident as she subconsciously began to feel her face with her hands to see if anything was wrong with her. "I meant, did it hurt while falling from heaven? Because you sure do look like a goddess," the stranger replied, attempting to flirt with her, although unfortunately, she didn't realize that he was actually flirting. "Thank you for your compliment, stranger, but no, I did not fall from heaven, nor am I a goddess. I am Princess Diana, a mortal much like you, and this island is the only home I have ever known," the woman responded, her uncertainty palpable. "But who are you, and how did you get past the barrier?" she demanded, her tone shifting instantly to seriousness despite its previous friendliness. "I am Bruce Wayne from Gotham. It's a city in the United States. You have never heard of it, have you?" Bruce questioned after he noticed a confused expression on Diana's face, which she simply answered with a side-to-side movement of her head. Where am I?" he managed to croak out, his mind still groggy from the entire ordeal. "You're on Paradise Island, the home of the Amazons," Diana explained, her tone light but informative. "And it seems you've had quite the journey. Maybe your ship was caught in a storm, and well, here you are." The man's eyes widened in realization as he attempted to sit up. As the man took in his surroundings, his gaze lingered on Diana, his mind coming to some sort of understanding. As expected, encountering a princess named Diana on a strange, unfamiliar island, ignorant of other nations within the DC universe, was a slim possibility. "I should have expected this the moment I saw her in her hot medieval armor," he thought to himself with a sigh. He immediately tried to look up his location in his smart bracelet, but unfortunately, before he could do so, he noticed that his bracelet looked more like a piece of burnt trash than a functional gadget. "I sure hope that the women in this version of the Amazons aren't as big man-haters as some of the extreme ones I heard of existing in the DC multiverse. Otherwise, I am royally in some deep shit," he concluded as he failed to switch on his bracelet, or even summon Cortana. The electromagnetic magical thunderstorm storm hadn't just wrecked his plane and burnt him to a crisp, but also rendered most of his gadgets useless. Not just his bat tool and his thought-scrambling pendant, but even the latest bulletproof suit he made for himself after being inspired by John Wick was conspicuously absent. "Anyway, I need to get out of here before her mother discovers me and sentences me to death. They probably wouldn't take kindly to me once they hear my honest thoughts about their sinful bodies. Warrior women were always my weakness after all. I even failed to stop myself from flirting with Diana. So I am not going to blindly place my hope in the off chance that I'll be able to somehow magically resist the power of their lassos," I decided in my mind. "But before that, hey princess, would you happen to have some food on you?" Bruce Wayne POV. "Stop looking at my ding-dong, you shameless bunch of women. Have you perverted bitches never seen a man with a horse-sized schlong before?" I complained with a straight face as I felt the curious and even slightly excited gazes of about a dozen women looking at my iron-hard heaven splitter. TCH, I should have run away when I had the chance to, I thought while giving a stink eye to Diana, walking a few meters before me with a slightly downcast expression. She was wise enough to completely ignore my words while she pondered on how to correct the misunderstanding that had just occurred earlier among her sisters, a misunderstanding that stemmed from my recent string of misfortune. You see, it all started back the moment when my aircraft crash-landed on this island, and I was discovered amidst the wreckage by none other than Princess Diana, the princess of the island's ruling royal family, one who would one day be known as Wonder Woman in the future. As an honest woman with the kind heart of a hero, she immediately understood my plight and didn't try to blame me at all for invading the island. Instead, after listening to my request, she was even ready to bring me a few fruits to eat when I told her I was hungry. However, unfortunately, falling prey to some invisible and unseen force of comic perversion, the great and mighty Wonder Woman, while trying to quickly fetch me some food, probably for the first time in her life as a warrior, slipped after stepping on a piece of broken metal and fell down right on top of me with her thighs smashing into my delicate face and her own head stopping a few inches away from my erect ding-dong. Of course, the situation was still manageable up until that point, but as luck would have it, a couple of Amazons had come to the beach at that very moment looking for their missing princess, but instead of finding her idly strolling along the seashore like usual, they instead stumbled upon her in what seemed to them a very compromising situation with an unknown man who was stark naked. And that was why I was currently being escorted to their queen as a captive, so that she could personally judge me for the crime I had committed by trying to defile her daughter who was also the nation's princess. Yeah, I was pretty sure that I did not have any lucky pervert skill up until now, but even if I did possess such an ability, I would have preferred it to manifest in a manner more conducive to good luck rather than doing the complete opposite. Only if I still had my clothes, or my nanobots. I sighed in frustration. A lot of people might ask me why I was naked in the first place, but of course, I had my own reasons. In the wake of the lightning storm, my entire luggage, along with all my attire, was lost amidst the chaos. The suit I wore was obliterated by lightning strikes, leaving nothing but ashes. Similarly, even my portable armory, which was meticulously secured and contained an array of weapons, gadgets, and reserve nanobots for emergencies, likely initiated its self-destruct sequence once the aircraft began to succumb to the tempest's fury. Of course, that was to ensure that no one else except me could ever get their hands on them in situations like these, but it also meant that I had no hope of getting them back as well. My only hope here was the nanobots I had strategically hidden throughout my body, with clusters of them located in different regions such as the hollow parts of my muscles, bones, and various organs. This type of distribution ensures that those nanobots are extremely difficult for anyone else to find, and even if some of them are discovered or destroyed, there are always backups in other areas. The nanobots had exceptional durability against almost all various forms of physical punishment, yet they were not absolutely invulnerable. When subjected to billions of volts of electricity, I am guessing the number because it certainly felt like that when my skin was melting off with each lightning strike, their functionality faltered, incapable of maintaining normal operations amidst such extreme conditions. Undoubtedly, I intend to refine my nanotechnology later to be able to resist that level of lightning or electricity, much like how Iron Man was able to do the same in Endgame, especially since too many heroes and villains possessed lightning-based or electric-based abilities that I would need to counter. Presently, however, those nanobots lay inactive and dormant within me, undergoing a process of self-repair since their mechanisms were capable of self-restoration even though they still lacked the true sophistication required for self-replication. So until those nanobots had completely repaired themselves, I could not summon or use them, not even for something as nominal as clothes, which forced me to go not just full commando but also completely naked as well. *TCH**, I should have foreseen something like this happening. Silence, you piece of manly scum. You will be getting what you deserve soon enough. Don't make us pull out your tongue even before we reach the court. One of the Amazons who was holding the lasso of truth that bound me commanded in a hateful tone. Manly scum? That is really creative of you. I feel like you just praised me instead of insulting me, so thanks, I guess. Oh, and I like to believe I deserve a lot since I am a very honest and good guy. I teased without even bothering to look at her. You are the worst scum I have ever seen. I have no idea why Sister Helena even thinks that you men have improved. To me, you are still the same dirty and shameless dogs as before. You should have stayed in the men's world, man, she uttered in a disgusted tone of voice. The Queen will never let you leave after you defiled her daughter, not even if the Fury herself begs her for it. I started to speak but was immediately interrupted by someone else speaking. For the 5th time, he did not defile me, Clymene. What you saw was simply a misunderstanding. I merely slipped and fell. He is innocent, Diana said with a slight blush. Also, Sister Helena Cosmatos is not only more experienced than you, but has also fought more wars than you have ever seen. You should respect her opinions, rather than try to discredit them every chance you get. I am sorry if I sounded rude, Princess, but you cannot expect me to believe that you, one of our best warriors, simply slipped and fell on a man. I am certain that he is definitely involved in somehow forcing you into that position. You do not know his kind, Princess, but I do. I was there when Hercules and his men. No, we will never forget what happened that night. We will never forget what men are truly capable of. They are all beasts and animals. She finished, her eyes slightly glassy with uncontrolled emotions. Diana wasn't able to find any words for her to reply. She had heard that a demigod man known as Hercules had once captured their entire nation and its people as slaves. She herself hated that man after listening to his story, but unlike most of her sisters, she couldn't bring herself to hate all men for it. He and his men forced himself on you all, didn't he? Bruce asked, his voice calm and soothing. I understand he was a bastard and all, but that doesn't mean every man is like him. Even if he had done what he did in what you call the men's world, he would still have to suffer harsh punishment for it. Also, what women had to suffer hundreds or thousands of years ago was because of the bad rulers that ruled the world at that time, along with a lack of law, order, and justice, not because of men in general. Women, in fact, were not the only ones to suffer. Every man and woman in the past who was not rich or didn't belong to a noble family suffered the same. Look, I admit that what happened with you all wasn't fair, but that doesn't give you the right to judge everyone else. People are not inherently bad depending on their gender, class, caste, color, religion, or race. There are always bad apples in a bunch, and then there are the good ones. You just have to know the right ones to choose. You all are not as special as you think you are. I explained what my genuine thoughts were. What do you know of suffering, man? The earlier Amazon retorted venomously, anger evident in her eyes. I bet that you would also love to force yourself on us the moment you get your chance. You will turn the same as them when the time comes. Maybe even your father abused your mother too. Bam, the woman could not complete her words as a punch from me sent her flying across the forest, faster than most would even be able to see. She only stopped after directly crashing into a grove of trees, the mark of a fist permanently embedded into the chest area of her armor. Immediately, without wasting a single second, all the Amazons present there took out their weapons and directed them at me, with Diana's sword even touching my throat. They acted exactly like trained and battle-hardened warriors, intending to deal with the primary threat first before trying to see if their companion was all right. Whoa, calm down, girls. I didn't even hit her that hard. I instantly tried to defuse the tense situation by raising my hands. I was just a little annoyed by her words. Also, I wanted to prove that I have the strength necessary to take all of you on. I didn't attack earlier, simply because I didn't feel the need to use any physical violence without a solid reason, and because I am a gentleman who believes in equal rights for all. Don't worry though, I don't intend to resort to violence unless my life is in danger. I explained with a charming smile, which probably made me appear bipolar. The female warriors didn't look much convinced by my explanation, but Diana, after scanning me with her eyes for a few seconds, sheathed her sword again before gesturing for one of the Amazons to check up on the Amazon I had just punched. What I said was true, by the way. I did believe in equal rights and opportunities. That's why I even hit the woman in the first place, because I believed that my fists were R-rated for all. Don't do something like this again, or it would be very difficult for me to prove your innocence in front of my mother, Diana advised in a low voice while tightening the lasso binding my hands, making sure that the other Amazons weren't able to hear her words. Once the Amazon named Clymene recovered, we again began to move towards Queen Hippolyta's palace. This time, however, most of our journey was in silence, something I very much appreciated since I was able to start forming multiple plans in my mind on how to get out of this problem with all my body parts intact. I really hope my nanobots start working again soon. This version of Princess Diana doesn't seem like she has ever ventured out of the island before, so I can't rely on her to let me go, and I don't even have any big wars or war gods that I can use as an excuse to ally with her. I thought dejectedly. Omniscient POV. For some reason, I almost feel like I want to sneeze. A deep resonant voice was heard mumbling, coming from the direction of a masculine figure adorned with a helmet that had horns and a skull-like face, a huge cape made of thick fur, and what appeared to be a large, bulky armor, giving off an ominous and powerful vibe. He was seated on a throne surrounded by dark blue flames, while another extremely muscular figure wearing light armor and a huge lion mantle was visible standing proudly in front of the throne, his head held high and chest puffed. Everything is ready. We now have the ritual that we needed. He spoke. Good. Prepare the army. Themyscira will have the honor of being the first one to fall before our combined might. The figure sitting on the throne said authoritatively, at which the other being couldn't help but slightly growl at the commanding tone of the words. Bruce Wayne POV. This place is bigger than I initially thought, I muttered to myself as my captors brought me to what looked like the training grounds inside the palace itself. Truthfully, I hadn't initially expected a very grand palace since everything on this island was supposed to be made by women. I am not being misogynistic, just stating the fact that women normally don't do construction work, at least according to the society of my previous world. But after seeing the central palace, I had to admit that I was impressed. The palace of the Amazons was quite big and was more inclined to a Roman design than Greek. It seemed to be constructed primarily with defensive and military strategies in mind, because the palace was perfectly positioned at the center of the island. So much so that the palace could defend itself and hold its own in times of war or rebellion, even if it was to be besieged from all directions simultaneously. How many years did it take you all to construct this palace? It is massive. This place? Oh, we didn't make it ourselves. It was a gift from Hera after Mother did an errand for her. But thank you for the compliment, Diana answered with a pleased smile, her mood suddenly becoming a lot better than it was a second before. Just as I thought. I smiled at her answer, knowing that I was absolutely right about construction not being the excelling point for women. "We are here," one of the Amazons declared as we finally reached a beautiful old temple near the royal training grounds. About 24 Amazons wearing special silver armor were guarding the entrance to the temple, their eyes watching out like hawks in search of any possible danger. "We want an audience with Queen Hippolyta, Philippus. We have arrested an intruder, a man who was somehow able to step inside Themyscirus borders despite the new magical barrier." The Amazon whom I had previously hit approached a tall woman who looked like the leader of the group and spoke in a respectful tone before giving me a dirty glare. The royal guard she was referring to as Philippus was a woman of African heritage and was easily one of the tallest and most well-built women I had ever seen. Hearing about a man on the island, she only appeared to be slightly surprised, but the very next second she completely recovered from her minor shock and hastily went inside the fountain to fetch her queen. "Remember, Bruce, do not insult my mother, no matter what. She is always fair in her judgments, but she doesn't like men very much, and she sometimes gets a little too emotional when she has to make decisions concerning me. So, let me try to explain the misunderstanding to her. There is a much higher chance that she will believe my words than yours," Diana whispered to me in warning, earning a wordless nod from me. Despite not knowing me at all, she seemed worried. In her mind, she probably didn't want an innocent person to die just because of some misunderstanding. I guess this version of her, despite being a warrior, was kind in nature, something I was very happy to know since I had heard about certain cruel and war-loving versions of Wonder Woman from one of my friends in my previous life who was a massive simp for the lasso-wielding DC babe. In fact, now that I think about it, this Wonder Woman even looked more like her comic version due to her raven black hair and her ample assets than her movie version, albeit there were certain similarities to Gal Gadot. Also, instead of looking like a warrior in her 30s, she looked a lot younger, like she was in her early to mid-20s. Philippus returned a few minutes after she had left, but this time, she was accompanied by someone else as well. It was a blonde MILF. A blonde woman who looked as beautiful as Diana, wearing golden armor and a massive, "Is that a WWE belt?" She also had a robe made of animal fur covering her, making it very clear that she was the leader here. Her very presence indicated that she was much more powerful than she looked, at least way more than the weak cinematic version of her I was expecting. The woman calmly walked in front of Philippus, her eyes stuck to the figure of Diana, who suddenly began to look like she was getting nervous. Interesting. So the warning from the oracle was true. Someone did indeed dare to invade Themyscira, although I didn't think that it would be a single mortal from the man's world. And I definitely didn't expect the invader to be without clothes. Hippolyta was the first one to speak as she raised one of her eyebrows at my naked figure, her gaze lingering on the runic tattoos I had drawn all over my body for a second too long. "My queen, we found this man on the beach. He was like this from the very start. No doubt it is some shameless scheme to corrupt our sisters. But that is not all. When we found him, we also saw him trying to defile the princess." The Amazon named Clymene complained, trying her best to exaggerate what happened to get me a more severe punishment. The moment she finished her words, I felt a chill pass through all over my body. It felt like a killing intent was being exuded by the Amazon queen, much like how anime characters do, just before they go psycho on someone's sorry butt. "That's not what happened, mother." Sister Clymene misunderstood the situation. This man, Bruce, had crash-landed on our island, much like how the man called Steve Trevor had once crashed through the barrier before Sister Helena found him. Bruce's clothes were all destroyed in the storm that brought him here. After I found him, I remembered Sister Helena's words and decided to help him return home. As for what Sister Clymene saw, it was only a misunderstanding that happened because I had slipped and fallen on him while trying to bring him food. Diana did her best to explain my innocence. "Slip? But I have never seen you slip before today, Diana. I don't understand why you would suddenly try to help a man, someone who had infiltrated our island, despite never having met him before in your entire life. It doesn't make sense to me," Hippolyta questioned. It's because he, Diana paused as she looked at me, hesitation apparent in her eyes. "It's because he isn't a normal human. He is special like the men Aunt Helena told us about. The ones with supernatural abilities that she fought against in the Great War caused by Ares, or the men that she trusted her back with during the war," she revealed. "I saw him heal from injury that even you or me would struggle to heal from. Mother, I swear that his entire body was burnt to a crisp by lightning when I approached him, but in front of my very own eyes, it healed to perfection. It almost seemed to me like he was blessed by the gods themselves." "Huh? So that's why she approached me. She must be driven by curiosity regarding my superhuman abilities. Yet, her revelation about my powers to her mother now might further complicate matters. Now that she has revealed that I might possess supernatural abilities, it will be a lot more challenging for me to get out of this island peacefully because a man blessed by gods with special abilities, preposterous. Even if he does indeed possess strange powers, then it just means that he must have sold his soul to demons. The Amazon, who seemed to have developed some sort of hostility with me, protested again. Did I ask your opinion, Clymene? You have done your duty by bringing him to me. Now, I am the one who will judge him, not you. So you can leave. Hippolyta responded in a commanding tone. As you command, my queen. Clymene just bowed in response to her queen's order, and proceeded to leave the way we came from before, of course, giving me an angry glare. Now, what to do with you? Queen Hippolyta muttered to herself. As much as I don't like men setting foot on this island, it is also true that Helena, by participating in the so-called World War, had opened our eyes and forced us to see that mankind, though inherently selfish, is not all bad. There are still good people among them, no matter how few. She believed that heroes also existed in the world of men. That very belief was the reason why she had given up the gift that the Furies had given her to seal back most of Ares' godly powers and end the war. Me killing you today without even investigating the truth of your accusations will be like spitting on what she had worked so hard for. That's why I will give you a chance to defend yourself. She decided. If you are innocent, you will be released, and we will make preparations for you to safely leave this island. Hippolyta stated before making her way closer to me until her face was mere inches from mine. But if you are found guilty, then you will be subjected to the harshest of punishments. Your manhood will be cut off, and then it will be made sure that your death is slow and extremely terrifying. She threatened. If you are trying to scare me, honestly, it's not working. But understanding where you are coming from, I'll play along and say, I am terrified. I said with a weak smile as I continued to stare into her eyes without moving my face away from hers. Oh, and you have the most beautiful eyes I have ever seen. Now, I understand where Diana gets her otherworldly beauty from. I praised, using the oldest flirting skill in the book, something that I doubt Amazons like her would know much about. Immediately, a small blush crept up on Diana's cheeks, which she didn't even try to hide, probably because she didn't know why she was blushing. Her mother, however, displayed no apparent change of expression at my flirting. Now, time for your test, Hippolyta stated before taking the free end of the lasso that was binding me into her hands. Tell me, stranger, what is your true name? I am. I struggled to answer the very first question. The lasso wasn't affecting me as much as I thought. It seems that its power to compel someone's soul or mind wasn't as strong as I thought. However, I could feel it getting hotter around my body with time. The lasso's effect would most probably continue to increase the more I resist. Trying to lie would just speed up the process. As far as I remember, my Wonder Woman simp friend once mentioned that even gods aren't immune from the lasso's magical effects, and anyone in contact with the lasso has to speak the truth, no matter who he is. But again, truth is not universal. Everyone has their own version of truth, so, I am Bruce Wayne, I answered, completely believing in my mind that Bruce Wayne was one of my multiple true identities, just like Batman is as well. Why are you here on our island? Hippolyta. I didn't come here on my own. A storm destroyed my plane, and I somehow ended up here. I answered. I see. Now tell me, did you have any bad intentions with my daughter when you saw her? Hippolyta. Bruce gave her a deadpan expression, while Diana was blushing profusely. What type of stupid question is that? Author's note, as you might have understood, in this universe, Diana was not the one who met Steve Trevor. Instead, it was an Amazon named Helena who rescued him and went with him to fight in the World War. She possessed powers similar to Wonder Woman, with the source of her powers being the three Furies from the realm of Hades. She is their champion and was known by the superhero moniker, Fury, during her time. At the end of her career, which was till the end of the World War, she sacrificed her Fury powers to weaken Ares from his powerful World War-empowered form and banished him back into his realm. Currently, she is just a normal Amazon and no longer has any connection to her Fury powers. Bruce Wayne POV, sorry, but I can't answer that question, I denied. Your daughter is among the most beautiful women I have ever seen, just like you, my queen, and if you expect any man not to feel even the tiniest bit of desire and affection after laying their eyes on you too, then you must have never met a true man at all, I answered with a straight righteous face. That means you did have bad thoughts about my daughter, didn't you? Hippolyta correctly deduced, while raising one of her eyebrows. Bad thoughts? Bad thoughts? What the hell do you take me for? A freaking animal. I am a well-respected philanthropist in my homeland, Your Highness. I try to help people as much as I can. I am neither a grapist nor a bad person. I only ever came to this island because I was lost at sea, otherwise, I wouldn't even have tried it, no matter how beautiful all of you are. Also, I consider myself a true man, someone who takes it as his responsibility to protect women and their honor. As long as that woman herself is worth protecting, that is. Also, I am sure you understand that the very fact that I can say these words while still being bound by this lasso is proof that I am purely speaking the truth. I defended myself in a single breath, the self-righteous tone still not leaving my voice. After listening to my words, all the Amazons present there suddenly went silent as they looked at each other's faces in confusion. They knew that it was true. Nobody could lie with the lasso around their bodies. So all the things the man had said were most probably true, even though they didn't really want to believe it. In fact, some of the Amazon guards standing there while listening to the conversation had even begun to sympathize with Bruce, seeing him as a gentleman who truly didn't have any intention to cause them any harm. To them, the man was definitely innocent, and there was no way that the queen would be able to punish him without seeming like an absolute villain. Some of them were almost wishing in their hearts that someone as innocent and honest as Bruce shouldn't be harshly punished for seemingly no reason at all. Diana, on the other hand, barely had any visible emotions on her face at all. Nobody knew what she was thinking exactly, but one thing was clear. Whatever her thoughts were, she was trying her best to hide them from her mother for some reason. You have a way with words, don't you? Hippolyta snorted with an amused laugh. But you are right. The lasso can never be wrong. You really are innocent, at least when it comes to any crime against our country and the people living in it. Fine then, I, Queen Hippolyta of Themyscira, hereby declare that Bruce Wayne is innocent of all the charges declared against him. She announced. Thank you, O beautiful queen. I began in an attempt to try to flatter her, but my words were quickly interrupted. Take him to the prison. She ordered her guards. Wait, what? But didn't you just declare me innocent a few seconds ago? I asked, confused, wondering whether the queen suffered from some short-term memory loss condition. I indeed have deemed you not guilty of the charges placed against you, traveler. But that doesn't mean you are free to go. As a man, you are not supposed to set foot on this island, nor are you allowed to know its location. You cannot be permitted to leave this island just like that. Because if you leave, then there is always a chance that you will reveal the location and secrets of this place to others. Once the selfish men in the men's world know about our exact location, it will undoubtedly affect not only my daughter but also all the Amazons as well. That is the reason why you will have to remain in prison until we figure out what to do with you. Hippolyta reasoned, her words making sound sense. Wait, what if I swear on this magic lasso? Will you let me leave then? The lasso is a divine item, one that can cause many miracles. Legend has it that not only can it bind gods and goddesses, but also force them to realize the truth as well as speak it. But despite how strong the lasso is, it's not all-powerful. There are things that it can and cannot do. Like, for example, it can't force people to keep their promises. Hippolyta revealed. Of course, there are other ways to force you to remain silent even after you return to the men's world, but they need time to be prepared. Till then, you will have to remain here. I would have given you a normal place to stay, but the rules say that a man cannot stay on this island, or near any women on this island, even as a guest. The only exception to this rule, however, is if you stay as a prisoner, in which case you will have to remain in the prison. The queen explained with a not-so-sorry look on her face. Why does it seem like she is enjoying this? I wondered as I tried to decide if I should battle it out right now to make her realize that I was not as weak as she thought. Even with Diana revealing the fact that I possessed abilities, Hippolyta still didn't seem very interested in them for some reason. She was underestimating me, and rightfully so too, since she had probably encountered countless beings in her life with powers and strength much above mine. Hell, she had even met and fought literal gods, according to the movies. Compared to their powers, mine didn't sound that amazing, even if it included healing back to full health from a piece of burnt bacon. But again, no Batman was ever known because of his powers and abilities, so I didn't take it to heart. In fact, I was actually quite happy that I was being underestimated, since that offered me the very much coveted element of surprise. But still, I won't be able to make it out of this island with just that. I need more time and information. I thought before deciding not to reveal all my cards at once. Instead, I chose to wait and see how the situation turned out. After all, I didn't even have any of my weapons and tools with me. I could probably take on a dozen or two Amazons, but according to my estimates from what I had seen on my way here, there were thousands of them living on the island, all trained to fight with their lives on the line. However, the biggest reason of them all was that I had no idea how powerful Wonder Woman of this world truly was. I had heard that in some universes, she could almost go toe-to-toe with Superman. If this Wonder Woman was nearly as strong as those versions of hers, then my chances of winning without any Psy-prep time, yes, I finally said it, was very slim. Plus, I refused to believe that one demigod champion would be all the queendom of Amazons would have as a final defense against supernatural threats. So the best plan was to patiently wait till I either got an opportunity to escape or till my nanites completed repairing themselves. Don't worry. Even though you will be treated as a prisoner, you will not be tortured by any Amazon, she promised after seeing my stoic expression, mistaking it for fear. Tortured by women, huh? Well, I guess that's a win for me. After all, I don't have that kink. However, I am still curious. Do Amazon interrogators wear dominatrix suits when they do their jobs? I curiously muttered in my mind. Diana, take him to the royal prison. You will be in charge of him for the time he is here, Hippolyta ordered while giving Diana a small nod. The princess also nodded back at her mother with a small thankful smile as she gestured for me to follow her. As for the others, return back to your respective duties, were the last words I heard from Queen Hippolyta before the two of us were out of the range of her voice. Seems my mother was quite in a good mood today. See, I told you that I would be able to handle it. Now, at least, you won't be killed anymore, Diana remarked while releasing a tired sigh. That was her in a good mood, I exclaimed with a doubtful expression on my face. Also, I thought I was the one who handled everything, princess. I snorted. You have no idea how fierce and brutal my mother can be. I once heard that she tore a man who had been lost at sea and came to our island into two because she didn't like the way he looked at her. If I hadn't spoken on your behalf, then she could have done the same thing to you. I admit, you do have a way with your words. But the only reason you were able to survive today wasn't because of your silver tongue, but because of Mother's surprisingly good mood and me defending your innocence, Diana answered as she led me to a shabbier and darker section of the palace. Huh, your mother sounds strong, I muttered, trying to continue the conversation to get some more information about her mother. Yeah, she's formidable. Physically, she surpasses even me. I've never bested her in direct combat. Also, she possesses considerable magical prowess, though she rarely uses them in battle, Diana disclosed inadvertently without even hesitating. She's too trusting, I mused silently. Diana, are you really trying to save me because you are curious about my powers? She didn't answer my question as she continued to walk ahead of me with one end of the lasso wrapped around me in her hands. Evidently, my question had somehow unsettled her, as she refrained from speaking to me for the remainder of our journey. It was only upon arriving at a dim underground chamber crafted from metal and stone that Diana finally spoke. We've arrived. This shall be your confinement until Mother determines a method for you to return to where you come from, without jeopardizing our own home. Rest assured, I shall do everything I can to make sure that you can return to your home, no matter the obstacles. In any case, make yourself comfortable. I will bring you some clothes later, she stated, her gaze lingering momentarily on my D. She seemed like she wanted to ask something. Anything you find interesting? I asked with a teasing voice. Yes, that thing between your legs. Do all men have that? Isn't it uncomfortable? Also, how do you fight with that thing dangling there? Diana asked a flurry of questions, her curiosity brimming out of her words as she pointed at my schlong. Yes, all men do have that. But the one I have is one of the biggest and mightiest. In fact, I am what most would call extremely well endowed and genetically gifted, I shamelessly boasted. As for fighting, we wear a special type of clothing down there to make sure that we can fight without being distracted by its dangling, I answered. Also, normally, it's not that uncomfortable. However, it does get a little uneasy in the morning or when we suddenly see an extremely beautiful woman all of a sudden, like you, I said as I pointed at my semi-hard mountain eater. For some reason, I felt like I was acting in a cheap adult entertainment. I see. I guess men's lives aren't that easy, Diana murmured to herself. Oh, you have no idea. Bruce Wayne POV. At long last, I am finally free from my prison. Oh, I have missed this sense of freedom. All that time locked inside that tiny little cell. I thought my entire life was ruined. I hugged the ground while flicking away mock tears of joy. You were in there for only one night, Diana commented with a straight face. Really? To speak the truth, it felt more like an eternity. I joked while stretching my body. Anyway, has the Queen already found a way to ensure I keep my mouth shut about this place? Or perhaps have you figured out a way to erase my memory? I questioned. I only came because I thought that you could use some exercise and fresh air outside your cell. Normally, it wouldn't be so easy to get you out of your prison, but today the entire Themyscira will be celebrating the Festival of Hera, where the best of our warriors will fight against each other in front of the entire country in honor of the goddess Hera. The contest winner will then be crowned as the Shield of Themyscira before finally ending the night with a grand feast and a ritual dance. Using the excuse of the festival to free you from your prison for the day would have been the most believable excuse for everyone. Now, let's go. We need to get there before the festival starts. Diana explained before gesturing me to follow after her, not even bothering to tie me up with the lasso again. Thousands of beautiful Amazons dancing together without a care in the world, while I have a feast and watch them. I thought to myself as I pictured the scene in my mind. Sounds interesting, I am in. I nodded with a stoic poker face. I probably have a thing for women with fit and athletic bodies. I mused to myself as I followed after her towards the Colosseum where the battles were supposed to be held. We reached the Colosseum in a few minutes since it was not too far away from the royal palace. Surprisingly, the giant structure looked more Roman than Greek for some reason. The place was almost entirely filled up with Amazons as women of various shapes, colors, and ethnicities cheered for two Amazons battling each other out in a sword fight in the arena. It seems that it has already started, Diana muttered while she continued to lead me towards the imperial box of the Colosseum where her mother was sitting along with her royal guards. Are you sure it won't cause any problems with the Amazons if I sit in the same place as you and your mother during a holy festival like this? I mean, I don't think a virgin goddess like Hera will appreciate a man sitting during one of her sacred traditions. I asked as I looked around at the questioning and annoyed glances the Amazon warriors were giving me. Lady Hera is a goddess, not a mortal. She probably knows that you are not guilty of anything and that your being here is simply an accident. She is not going to punish you for that. As for the other Amazons, they are loyal to their queen. Even if they don't like you being here, they will never say anything because of how much they respect my mother. You are very proud of your mother, aren't you? I asked with an amused smile. Of course, she is the greatest warrior and queen this world has ever known. And she has been the best mother as well. I am incredibly lucky to have an amazing mother like her, she confessed just before we reached the VIP viewing section. You are late, Diana. As the champion of the Amazons, you should have been present here from the beginning. Hippolyta chastised her the moment she noticed us approaching. Anyway, now that you are finally here, take your place on the throne beside me. And you can sit over there in that chair. She ordered after giving me a quick once-over. Her casual commanding tone didn't really bother me too much. Any other normal person in my place might have taken her words and attitude as an insult, but I knew that the woman didn't really mean it. She was not opposed to me because of her arrogance or because she was bigoted like most other Amazons. No, my brief knowledge of psychology told me that Queen Hippolyta was simply afraid of men, afraid of being hurt by a man once again. She had suffered in the past because of men, and she didn't want that to happen again to her, her daughter, or any other Amazon out there. That's why she didn't trust men and even pretended to hate them like most other Amazons. Wait, isn't the woman fighting right now Clymene from yesterday, the same woman who wanted the death penalty for me? I confusedly asked, pointing at the Amazon who was almost dominating the current battle one-sidedly. Yes, she is. Despite her misgivings, she is an excellent warrior. She has won the festival and became the shield for Themyscira multiple times in the last few decades alone. I think she has a good chance to win this time as well since Artemis and Donna won't be taking part this year. Diana answered in a whisper. What about you and your mother? Don't you two take part in it? I am the present champion of Themyscira and the Amazons while my mother is the queen. We cannot fight for the title of the shield while we possess these titles. Most of our royal guards and generals also do not take part in it to give others an equal chance to win the title and the honor that comes with it. However, the victor of each battle still gets to challenge any other warrior present in the Colosseum for their next battle. Anyone who doesn't accept is deemed a coward, and the refusal of the challenge is even taken as an insult to the goddess herself. But my mother and I are the only ones who can never be challenged in this festival, no matter how many battles have been won by someone. She patiently explained. Oh, I see. I responded, not at all liking the direction this was going for some reason. I don't know why, but from the very start of today, I have been experiencing a rather strange feeling in my heart, like something bad is going to happen. Something very, very bad that might change a lot of things around here. Cheers suddenly began to erupt from the crowd as the Amazon named Clymene finally ended the battle by landing one last strike on her opponent using the butt of her sword. After her opponent fell down, she raised her sword in victory before directly looking at me with a challenging glare. This obsessive hatred of hers was getting really annoying. It seems that she is quite determined to win this time as well, Hippolyta mumbled stoically before taking a thoughtful look at me. I probably shouldn't have given Diana permission to bring you here, she stated, her voice laced with frustration for what was to come. Wait, is she perhaps indicating that the crazy bigoted Amazon woman might? As the victor of this fight, I wish to use my right of contest to challenge someone next. In honor of the goddess Hera, I want to challenge the man to a battle to the death. She yelled with righteous anger as she pointed her sword in my direction. Truthfully, that sounded incredibly bigoted. Wait, that cannot be allowed. He is a guest, not a warrior or resident of Themyscira. You cannot challenge him. He is not even an Amazon. Diana immediately tried to deny her request, her eyes digging daggers at Clymene. I am sorry, Princess Diana, but the rules clearly state that the challenger can challenge anyone inside the Colosseum except the queen and the champion. One doesn't have to be an Amazon or even a woman to accept the challenge. As for being a guest, the queen herself declared the man a prisoner, not a guest. So, he can't use any of the privileges that a guest can. Clymene countered with a sly smile. It seems the woman, despite being almost half crazy with her hatred for men, had actually thought this through. Diana couldn't find any fault in Clymene's explanation, so she immediately looked to her mother for help. I am sorry, Diana, but she is right. She can challenge the man. However, he can always just deny the challenge, since there is no actual punishment for it. Even if he loses his honor by doing so, it still won't matter since he is neither an Amazon nor a resident of Themyscira. I am sure even Lady Athena will understand and forgive him if he doesn't participate in the challenge. Hippolyta advised after thinking for a while, showing that she too could use loopholes to her benefit, something that angered Clymene to no end, as was evident from her clenching teeth. Then, just deny the challenge, Bruce. A death match means that one of you will die. And despite you having powers, there is a chance that it will be you, Diana grimly said, trying her best to discourage me from fighting. I cannot let an innocent friend of mine die like this. She was right. I did not need to fight. I obviously didn't like Clymene, but that doesn't mean that I wanted to kill her. Also, I did not need to protect my honor, since I would be leaving this island very soon, but what I did want was to slam my fist against the annoying face of that Amazon, to teach her why underestimating someone is considered harmful to oneself. Moreover, for some reason, I felt like I was responsible for defending the honor and respect of all the males in the world in front of these female warriors. I accept your challenge. I probably won't be killing you if I win, since I don't have any true enmity with you yet, but I will be making you look more like your age by breaking a few of your bones and teeth if I become the victor, I declared in front of everyone as I got up from my chair and began to walk towards the arena floor. I'll be back soon, I told her. This won't take much time at all, I mumbled as I felt the nanobots inside me resonate with my mental command to some extent, which further bolstered my courage. Nanobots have autonomously repaired to 81% functionality. Nanobots are at 75% power efficiency. An AI voice that was somewhat similar to Cortana's informed me from within my ears. Good, they have almost completed repairing themselves. Hopefully, in a few more minutes, I will even be able to start using them to some extent as well as access Cortana. I thought to myself as I wondered if I should just fly away from this island after beating the annoying Amazon warrior woman within an inch of her life. But whatever I did, it was still going to be a piece of cake. My physical powers alone were enough to take care of her in a direct battle. I wouldn't even need to use chi, much less my nanobots. As soon as that thought had crossed through my head, a huge earthquake suddenly rattled the entire island as the sky darkened and a violent storm began to rage. A huge mystical portal suddenly appeared at the center of the island as dozens of Hulk-sized humanoid monsters, made up of rocks, suddenly began to appear from them like some monster army. At long last, I am finally back to the mortal plane. Surrender to your new god, Amazons, and you will have my mercy. Resist, and you will face my wrath. A booming voice echoed to everyone across the island as a huge, armored figure emerged from the gaping portal. I am the unluckiest person in the world, aren't I? I pondered to myself in all seriousness as I stared at the god of war floating above the arena in all his glory. Wayne Vista Grand Hotel, omniscient POV. Stop stressing, Pennyworth. If you continue to worry like that, you'll even lose the rest of your gray hair from that thinning scalp of yours. Leslie Tompkins sternly reprimanded Alfred while trying to give him a relaxing back massage, something she was quite good at due to being a professional doctor. She was a woman in her late 40s, set to enter her 50s soon, although the only thing reminiscent of her age was her silver-colored hair because just like Alfred, she too was extremely well-maintained with a body that could even compete with Alfred's muscular physique in terms of fitness. But you don't understand, Ms. Thompson. Young Master Bruce always picks up the phone of those he considers his family. Even if he is unable to answer immediately for some reason, he always calls back. But it has been more than a day, and there is still no news from him. At least, Cortana should have given us some information. But she just disappeared after telling us that something important came up and young Master had to leave all of a sudden. Even then, I would have believed her, had she not increased our security level for no reason at all. She didn't even allow the girls to contact Master Bruce, which is unlike her. Also, when I asked the guards and maids back at the manor as well as the officials at the Gotham airport about young Master, they all confirmed that he had already left in his private jet for Greece to meet up with us. Suddenly changing his destination mid-flight without informing us first is just too suspicious for me to ignore. Alfred voiced the reasoning behind his worries after his body began to relax at the massage. I agree, maybe it is slightly suspicious. But you have to understand that Bruce isn't a kid anymore. He is one of the biggest businessmen in the world. You cannot baby him all the time, no matter how worried you are about him. He is a responsible young man who can more than take care of himself. So just trust in him and wait for him to come back. As for that AI of his, I know her recent actions are slightly suspicious, but you yourself once said that she is one of the most trustworthy individuals that has ever worked for Bruce. I am sure that whatever she is doing has a valid reason behind it. Leslie tried to calm the worried butler down with her reasoning. Also, is that truly the only reason you are so stressed? Are you sure that this has nothing to do with the news you recently received from your ex? The reason why you even insisted on coming to Europe for a vacation? Maybe instead of being worried about something happening to Bruce, you are actually worried about what he would think of you when he finds out about your past. Leslie tried her best to understand Alfred's current thoughts to better comfort him about his worries. That's not, you are right, I shouldn't deny it anymore. I probably am a little worried about what the young master would think of me when he learns that the person who has been raising him all these years has a daughter he didn't even know about. The man whom the Wayne couple trusted their son with could not even raise his own daughter. All these years, I thought that I had accomplished so much, Leslie. But today, I feel like I am the biggest failure there is. Alfred accepted with a pained expression on his face that clearly reflected his broken heart. But it isn't your fault. How are you supposed to know that she even existed when her mother kept this a secret from you all those years? You said she was a one-time fling. You didn't even meet her after that. If a romantic person like you didn't even try to track that person down again, then that means you probably lost her location, right? If she didn't want you in her life, then it's her fault that you were not present, not yours. Leslie still tried her best to defend him. Not exactly. I never lost her address. I don't think it's even possible to lose the address of the place where she lives. I just never went back because I was afraid the situation would become too complicated. But I should have guessed that there was a chance she could become pregnant and that she would try to hide the baby because of her unique identity. Well, at least, she didn't abort it. Alfred accepted the real truth of the situation. Leslie didn't know how to respond to that. Even though she was slightly sad about the fact that her new boyfriend had a daughter from a past one-night stand, she still didn't want to come up as an insensitive or unsupportive woman, especially since she knew that the kind Englishman wasn't even to blame for it. She was young once too, and she herself regretted a lot of the decisions she had taken at that time, including the incredibly stupid decision to not be there with Bruce and Alfred every step of the way after the senior Wayne couple died. Leslie knew how to read people accurately, and it was very clear to her that Alfred truly regretted not being able to be there for the child he had recently come to know about, so there was no reason for her not to try and support him. At least, tell me who your ex is. Maybe we can all sit down and figure things out together. Also, How old is your daughter? I think you should at least have a talk with her before we decide how to go forward with this. Leslie advised what she thought would be the wisest and most mature decision of all. My so-called ex. She is the Queen of England. As for my daughter, I don't know any actual details about her. Elizabeth made sure not to mention any of her information except her gender in the letter she wrote to me, probably afraid that she could be targeted by the other members of the royal family. Or maybe because she is ashamed of her birth. But if I had to guess, I would say that she had probably sent our daughter to some royal boarding school for spies and secret agents, since she was not grooming her as a direct member of the royal family. I remember she once told me that she would have liked to become a secret agent herself if she were not the queen. Alfred said with a serious face after thinking for a while. Hey guys, did you find anything about Tige? Bruce? Everyone is using their contacts, but we can't even find a single trace of his plane except the fact that he had already boarded his private jet and was headed towards Greece. I know he is more than capable enough, but wait, what's happening here? Why do you two look like you are discussing divorce despite not even being married? Selina, who had abruptly entered the room without even knocking, paused in her steps as she looked at her father figure sitting there with an innocent face, while Leslie looked like she could not decide between killing the man and praising him. 3 hours after Bruce Wayne went missing somewhere over the Mediterranean Sea, Batcave under Wayne Manor, Gotham, omniscient POV, dozens of Cortana's holograms could be seen working diligently on a multitude of projects around the cave, while almost every computer in the cave was running at full efficiency. Cortana had been repeatedly trying to establish a connection with the lost jet, Bruce's bracelet, and his nanobots, but anything she was trying was constantly ending up in failure. All her efforts to track the plane or Bruce's current location were useless. Cortana didn't want to admit it, but for the first time in her life, she was powerless and thus panicking. Bruce had a ton of contingency plans in case situations like this ever arose. For example, the Judgment Day plan was supposed to be enacted if the lives of Bruce and his family were in serious danger because of the government. There was the Genesis plan if he for some reason became a psycho, hell-bent on killing everybody. Then there was the Rebirth plan if he were ever to be possessed by any demonic entity or evil god. There were hundreds of plans for her to choose from, but unfortunately for Cortana, he never made a contingency plan where he was lost at sea or dead. So, she was completely on her own. Cortana had no idea if Bruce was even still alive. He was not just her master, but her entire purpose. She existed solely to serve him. So, she had to find Bruce and bring him back alive, for both of their sakes. It was what her very purpose was, what she was made for. Of course, that was easier said than done. Despite scanning the area where Bruce's jet was last located before the storm dozens of times by almost every type of analysis method available, she had discovered nothing new. It's like something supernatural was stopping her from finding him. Of course, she had instantly thought of getting help from the experts in the field for this, but she couldn't find an expert and convince them to work for her in such a short time. After all, the only two magical experts Bruce knew were currently not even in the US. Cortana had searched for the father-daughter duo all over the world using every internet-accessible camera and satellite she could connect to, but she came up with absolutely nothing. So the only choice she had was to wait for the nanobots in Bruce's body to come online and connect to the main server. His nanobots also had a mini-clone of hers installed in them, which worked even without any sort of network connection. The mini-clone was not the real her, but just a light version of her who could do certain tasks for Bruce. Its primary purpose, however, was not to be an assistant for Bruce, but to help the real Cortana connect with Bruce when the nanobots would again go online. Cortana would be able to sync with this light version of hers to get access to all the recorded data of her clone. The AI assistant knew that she would be getting Bruce's location sooner or later, but she wanted to be prepared when it happened. Initially, she had planned on implementing the strategy she had herself devised in case Bruce was ever killed or his life ever seriously threatened. A strategy she had named Project Failsafe. A project that even Bruce wasn't completely aware of its details. Failsafe was designed for vengeance, something Cortana had been working on for years as her own pet project after Bruce donated the Kryptonian woman's dead body to her, but she hadn't been able to perfect it yet. She could have asked Bruce for help, but she didn't want to since this was supposed to be her gift for him. She still needed about a year or two to truly perfect the weapon. So right now, all she could do to prepare was just make more drones while printing more and more nanobots until she could track his signal. She was making an army for Bruce and... Signal detected. Target confirmed as Master Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne POV. Ares. How dare you cross the boundaries of Themyscira on such a holy occasion? You are not even allowed to set foot in the mortal realm, much less the home of us, the Amazons. Return to the gutter you crawled out of, god of war, or you will soon be facing the might of the Amazons, the same might which banished you to the end of the earth last time you tried this." Queen Hippolyta yelled in righteous anger as soon as she noticed Ares and his army stepping through the magical portal. "Queen Hippolyta, you are still alive. I thought that you would have surely been dead by now. But it seems like I was wrong. Well, no worries, we can easily change that. As for me being defeated, one of you insignificant ants might have been able to trick me last time, but this time you won't be able to get rid of that easily, Queen Ha." Ares laughed loudly before suddenly seeming to remember something. "Oh, and I brought one of your close acquaintances with me this time. He is quite excited to be able to play with you again after such a long time. Isn't that right, Hercules?" The huge, armored figure of Ares asked in a sarcastic voice before looking at the portal he had just exited. The moment Ares completed his words, another figure, clad in golden armor, exited the portal with a proud and confident grin on his face as if he was waiting in the queue. Despite his impressive muscular physique and moderately handsome face, something about the man just seemed wrong. In simple words, he gave off a strong feeling of a massive grade A asshole for some reason. "It is so good to meet you again, Hippolyta. How are you? Did you miss me, the great Hercules? Or do you still foolishly believe that men like me are not superior to women?" The newly arrived figure confidently mocked the Amazonian queen with a malicious sneer on his face. For some reason, it suddenly feels like I am witnessing an argument between a hardcore misogynist and a devoted radical feminist. I thought while doing my best not to interrupt their dialogue with some stupid joke. By Hera, this is impossible. He is supposed to be dead. How in the name of the gods is he here? I could hear Clymene mutter in disbelief. She seemed to have even forgotten about me because of the unique situation that had developed. Hippolyta, on the other hand, had suddenly gone silent after noticing Hercules. However, the reason for her silence wasn't because of shock or surprise. Judging from her face, it was because of anger. No, the Queen of the Amazons was beyond angry. It looked like the only things going on her mind after noticing Hercules were thoughts of revenge. She immediately wanted to kill him but was somehow able to stop herself from attacking him at that very moment, calming herself down for the sake of her people. She knew that she needed to act like a queen, not a resentful woman. "You released him from the punishment that the gods subjected him to after what he and his men did to us last time?" Hippolyta's words were as calm as the ocean while she asked her question, yet her voice sounded strangely ominous. "You even partnered with the disgusting disgrace of a demigod like him? Ha! The god of war partnering up with a demigod to defeat a mere queen? Truly, how the mighty have fallen." She mocked. "Only power matters, in the end, Hippolyta, nothing else. Now that I have recovered some of my powers after that fury sealed them away during our final battle at the end of the World War, I am finally ready to restart my conquest of the mortal world. And for that, I have decided to use this island as my base." Ares made his intentions clear before raising his war axe in the air while signaling his troll army to move forward. "Go and enslave them all. Kill the ones who resist," he commanded with a thundering voice. As soon as he gave the order, hundreds of stone-skinned trolls instantly began to rush forward toward the Amazons, determined to forcefully take over Paradise Island from their control. "Sisters, take up arms. We have to fight to defend our home." "Blood for blood," Hippolyta yelled, her words audible to everyone present at the Colosseum as she herself pulled out a sword out of nowhere before brandishing it on the enemy army. Her words reverberating in the air were enough to quiet down the confused Amazons and raise back their confidence, prompting them to do the same with their weapons. "Diana, you were asking me this morning for more responsibilities, right? You have your wish. You are now responsible for protecting your sisters and leading them in this battle against Ares and his army, my daughter. The others will follow your lead," Hippolyta commanded, her voice sounding more of a battle-hardened queen than a loving mother. But Diana didn't look so happy after getting the responsibility she so much craved. For the first time since I had met her, she looked unsure of herself as she looked at the massive army of trolls advancing towards them. "And what about you, mother? Won't you join the battle as well? Defeating Ares without you would be possible. It would be very much possible if it is you. I believe in you as much as I believe in myself. You are the bravest woman I have ever known with the heart of a hero. If anyone can defeat Ares, it is you, my child." Queen Hippolyta tried her best to encourage Diana. "Also, always remember, Diana, the blood of a god flows through your veins. And only a god can kill another god. She completed, prompting her daughter to nod. And as for me, I'll be taking care of an old enemy of Themyscira. It is high time that Hercules pays for all his old crimes and gets the punishment he truly deserves. Hippolyta utters with venom in her voice as she slips open her royal fur coat, leaving her impressive Amazonian physique clad in a luxurious golden armor in full display. Interesting. It seems that despite Diana being the champion of Themyscira, this is the first true war she would be participating in. But is she blindly believing in her daughter's ability, wise for the queen, or is she doing this just so that she can freely pursue her own vengeance against Hercules? I silently pondered to myself. And what about the prisoner, my queen? Should we use the man as bait or take him back to the prison? This is not his war. He doesn't deserve to get killed while fighting it, the queen ordered after taking a glance at me. Actually, I want to fight. I don't want to go back to that prison. That prison is so boring that it might kill me faster than this war. Plus, I am warmed up for some action. I am not going back to my cell without at least killing a few of those rock monsters. Also, I know that I may not look like it, but I am something of a warrior myself. I finished with a mental grin at finally being able to say those words. Fine, do whatever you wish, but remember, if you die, it is on you. I won't feel even the slightest bit of pity upon your death. Hippolyta clarified. Diana, get him a weapon. Just make sure he doesn't get to use it against one of us. I still don't trust men. She warned before mounting a horse standing nearby and riding away in the direction of Hercules. Wait, how did that horse get there without alerting my senses? I internally wondered before finally deciding to chalk things up to magic and the supernatural. Everyone, take up your weapons and tighten your armors. We will be fighting the army head-on. I will take care of Ares while all of you annihilate his army. Remember, I don't want to lose even a single one of you sisters, so protect each other's backs while out there. Diana took up the charge. Despite not being as commanding as her mother's, her words were still enough to do the trick and encourage the other Amazons, giving them more confidence to fight. Satisfied after seeing the effect of her words, she shed her robe and the royal clothes she was wearing, revealing her iconic red and golden Wonder Woman armor underneath. Currently, Diana was no longer just the princess of Themyscira. Right now, she was Wonder Woman, the champion of the Amazons. Do you prefer a sword or spear? She asked before gesturing to two different weapons in her hands. I don't need a weapon. I have mine. I answered after I was done checking out her amazing bod. Armor, yeah, of course I was checking out her armor. I have my own, I explained further before finally summoning the nanobots out of my body. Almost instantly, nanobots began to cover my entire body, making it look like thousands of microscopic bugs were crawling all over me. I wouldn't use one of my regular armor designs for a fight here. No, I needed something stronger and more suited to the environment, something that could pack a punch while also giving me better protection from these monsters and gods. I guess it is finally time to go medieval. I thought as I mentally selected one of the many medieval design templates I had designed for situations like this. Soon, I was entirely covered in what looked like a bulky medieval armor that made me look almost as big as the mountain from Game of Thrones, while also giving a strange feeling like I was some sort of dragon slayer. Maybe I should have gone with the berserk design. Wow, is this magic? You are a sorcerer? Why didn't you tell me before? Diana asked, extremely surprised at my sudden costume change. Nope, it's science, I answered truthfully before summoning both of the all blades into my hands, flames licking out from the tip of their fiery red blades. This is magic. Bruce Wayne POV. To speak the truth, I have always believed the Amazons to be weak after I watched the first Wonder Woman movie back in 2017. I mean, in the film, it was shown that so many of their warriors died after just being hit by a few bullets. The Justice League movie had tried to do some justice to the race of female super warriors when it showed a couple of Amazons being able to even restrict Steppenwolf for some amount of time. But as a trade-off, it made them seem like stupid savages after it showed them fighting Steppenwolf and his parademon armies with ordinary bows and arrows. I mean, why would a bunch of superhuman female warriors, blessed by the gods themselves with access to thousands of years of magical knowledge and other mystical divine stuff, fight literal evil gods with normal weapons? That sounds incredibly stupid and borderline insane, even if they are supposed to be women. The reality, of course, was actually much more different. These Amazons were not as strong as peak humans or base-level super soldiers like they were made to look like in the movies. No, they were much stronger, They were almost baseline superhumans who could effortlessly bend steel with their bare hands without even trying that hard. Each of them could easily beat Captain America's ass as long as he didn't have his plot armor or his science-defying frisbee. Yeah, they were that powerful. It was a serious waste that they were not bulletproof, otherwise they could have been the perfect warriors. I myself realized this only after the battle had started when I saw a random Amazon break a rock golem soldier into pieces with just a single strike of her axe, which weirdly didn't even get a single chink in it, even after being used constantly to destroy the stone monsters. Also, I should mention that although these rock golems were not as tough as diamonds or something, they were still definitely not so weak that a normal peak human could shatter them with an ordinary metal weapon. Now, I don't know if the Amazons in this world were different than the ones I remember from the movies, or if all Amazons were this strong in general, but there was no way that this army of rock monsters was going to win a war against them in their own homeland with their strength alone. So, the question was why they even started the battle in the first place. Were Ares and Hercules that much of an idiot, or were they so confident in their own strength that they believed they could win the war with their individual powers alone, and this army was just for show? Or was it possible that just maybe, they have a completely different objective whatsoever? Smash the golems to smithereens, sisters. Make sure that both their heads and hearts are completely smashed to pieces. Otherwise, they will just heal back from the earth. They are the children of Gaia, after all, and have her blessings. Diana gave her advice after she noticed some of her sisters struggling to permanently put down one of the monsters as they continued to grow back from its fragments. As for Ares, I'll take care of him myself. She completed before rushing towards the direction of the war god, while cleaving through dozens of rock monsters in her path. A few golems of the bigger size did try to block her course, but these monsters were useless in front of her absurd level of strength. They were just small-time minions meant to die at her hands to buy some time and tire her out. Unless she were to be overwhelmed by hundreds of them at once, they wouldn't even have a chance at defeating her. Seems like everyone here is putting their all in this battle. I think it's time I became serious as well. I don't think I can learn or gain anything significant while hiding my strength here, I muttered while looking at the hundreds of rock golems that were still pouring out of the magical portal. Initially, I took it easy in the battle to gauge both sides' combat abilities. In fact, I had been acting like I was at the same level as the other normal Amazons in terms of combat abilities, and like I was struggling to fight even 3 of these rock golems together, but now it was time to get serious. Tightening my muscles, I decided to use my darkness breathing style to be as efficient and as fast as possible. As the air entered my lungs through my aerial pathways in a specific pattern, instantly, my speed almost doubled as I started to hack and slash at the rock soldiers. Each of my attacks aimed at vertically cutting them apart from the middle to destroy both their hearts and heads in one fell swoop. However, these slashes from my all blades didn't just cut them apart like a pair of hot knives through butter, but even instantly burned them like pieces of dry paper catching fire. This is too easy, I thought to myself with a smirk before I decided to up my game. Let's see how you guys fare against some more modern weapons. I muttered as I activated the laser cannons hidden in the shoulder area of my armor. My current Dragon Slayer armor design might be medieval in theme to match the location, but that doesn't mean they don't contain modern weapons and tools. The armor was as convenient as any of my other numerous armor templates, with the only difference being that it was more focused on strength rather than agility or some other aspect. Upon my command, 2 laser cannons rose from my armor shoulders and began to scan all nearby targets. After the 2 cannons were done auto-targeting, they began to shoot plasma bolts at the rock golems in all directions. Zazap, 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 the fierce armor-piercing plasma bolts that were being released from my shoulder cannons exploded in a burst of plasma shrapnel upon striking the rock monsters, causing them grievous wounds by blasting away their heads and hearts. By Hera, what powerful magic! Some of the Amazons cried out in wonder and amazement as they looked at the rock golems dropping like mosquitoes with gaping holes where their heads were. He must be a warrior blessed by the gods just like Diana. They couldn't help but exclaim. Even Clymene, who had been against me the most from the start, was forced to acknowledge my power after I shot 4 of the golems who had been slowly ganging up on her. Of course, I didn't do it to impress her or something. I simply did it because I could, although judging by the look on her face, her ego seemed to be really hurt because of it. She even refused to meet my eyes or even look at my face after that. I am still going to beat up her ass after all this is over, I swore to myself. If she really insists on continuing to try and prove her superiority against me to satisfy her inner radical feminism, then I have no other choice but to make her realize her mistake. Asterisk zap zap as my shoulder cannons finished blasting the last of the golems near me into a pile of smoking rock fragments. transforming the entire area into a graveyard of shattered stones. I turned my attention to Diana, who had already arrived near Ares. She had carved a clear path through the chaos, decimating every golem in her way. The sword and shield in her hand were still as pristine as ever. Even her armor looked like it barely had a speck of dust on it. She seemed confident in her strength as she threw her lasso, wrapping it around Ares, and then pulled him towards her with her full power. But that didn't even make Ares budge. He just stood there watching Diana. His facial expressions could not be seen since it was hidden behind his large helm, but it almost seemed like he was smirking at her. And here I thought that my sister would be stronger than this. Seems mortal blood runs deeper than godly ichor in your body. What a waste. Our father would be disappointed in you. He declared in a condescending tone, like he was doing her a favor even talking to her. Look, Diana, we can either continue with this meaningless battle, or we can work together. Forsake the other gods, and accept me as your patron. Become my messenger and spread my name by conquering this mortal realm, waging the fires of war everywhere you go. If you accept, I give you my word, I'll leave your sisters alone. He tried his best to tempt her. The stories were right. You are not worthy of being a god. Diana calmly commented after listening to his words. Mortals, as long as a few of you don't get squashed under our godly feet, you just don't get it, do you? Fine then, death it is for yo. Zap! A blue-colored plasma bolt struck Ares directly on his chest, catching him by surprise and forcing him to move a step back. For a god of war, you sure do talk a lot. Plus, you seem too weak for a god. Let me guess, you still haven't recovered from all those times Zeus and his champions bitch-slapped you when you tried to conquer the world, have you? I asked after flying over to where they were facing each other and landing beside Diana. Bruce? No, get away. He is not like those rock golems. He is a god. You won't survive if you fight against him. Diana tried to warn me, but I just ignored her words. There was no way I was not going to take this chance and fight an actual god. I have so many theories to taste about gods of this universe, and Ares was the perfect subject for me to test them on. Also, I had a gut feeling that defeating him wasn't going to be that hard. I had once faced a Kryptonian soldier for a few minutes when I was a teen. Battling a fallen god who had lost 99% of his powers didn't sound like that much of a big deal anymore. I mean, yeah, this might be the same god who had almost killed Darkseid in the movies. But Ares was supposedly at his peak then because of the war that was happening throughout space, while the evil god of tyranny was just an inexperienced teen. So that probably doesn't count. Now for starters, let's see how your godly immortality fares against my swords, I said as I summoned the All-Blades into my hands again. Haven't you heard that only a god can kill another god? Swords are useless against us. Ares declared confidently before releasing an invisible force toward us, trying to push us both away in a violent thrust. We will see, I uttered before activating my biggest trump card in this battle. Kinetic Force Field activated. Power at 99%, Chi inhibitors deactivated. Bruce Wayne POV, Chi inhibitors deactivated. Chi can now be used freely, warning. Others can now detect your Chi. A string of warnings played inside my head informing me of the changes being made throughout the suit. I made this anti-Chi detection feature into my suit a long time ago when I realized that one day I might have to sneak up on someone who is a master of Chi. This stealth technology was supposed to be perfect as it was capable of suppressing and hiding my Chi completely. If it just didn't have one specific disadvantage. The Chi inhibitors in my suit didn't just completely hide my Chi from others, but also actively negated it as long as it was active, keeping it under a particular level, a level that could be termed as ordinary for humans. For now, this was a double-edged sword for anyone using Chi. Although in my case, it wasn't that much of a disadvantage since I already possessed a supernaturally strong body and a very well-made supersuit. Now that I think about it, one can even say that right now my technique of completely suppressing and hiding my Chi is like Zetsu from HXH, but what I truly need to be capable of is to be able to perform something like in where I can make full use of Chi even while hiding it. Interesting. Something just changed in you. I can feel it. A new power maybe, or is it magic? Tell me, are you a demigod as well? Ares asked, curiously tilting his head at me. Nope, just a human who wants to kill a god and go back home. I answered before firing a couple of more shots from my shoulder cannon at him. But this time, those shots barely did any visible damage to him as he took those shots directly on his chest without even flinching. You dare challenge the god of war with a mere gun? Ares bellowed in a thunderous voice as he took a look at the small scratch on his armor. You will regret this defiance." He threatened, his eyes blazing with crimson fire. Immediately, his war hammer, which had disappeared for some time, again materialized in Ares' hands, its entire body pulsing in some sort of dark energy. Without even waiting for us to make the first move, Ares rushed at us, his weapon primarily aimed at Wonder Woman. He seemed to have already decided in his mind that Diana, who was the demigod child of Zeus, was currently a much bigger threat to him than me, who was just a random human in a metal suit. Of course, that was very good news for me because it meant I would have a much easier time fighting and putting him down now that he was just considering me as mere support for Diana. Even though Ares' movement was barely traceable to human eyes, Wonder Woman, however, was able to somehow deflect the blow with her bracelets, red sparks flying as one divine weapon clashed against another. Now, anybody would think that Ares, as the Olympian god of war, would be an absolute beast in combat techniques and actual skill, but quite contrarily, his attack on Diana showed that his technique was full of holes. It was like he wasn't taking this fight seriously, even though he knew about Diana being of divine origin. As the battle raged on, the clash of weapons continued to reverberate through the air. Ares, though far from his peak and severely weakened, fought ferociously. He unleashed waves of dark energy through his weapon, testing our skills and durability to see whom he could throw out of the equation first. While Wonder Woman defended herself using her bracelets, my armor protected me against Ares' brutal moves by absorbing the majority of the impacts while I countered with the All Blades, hoping to be strong enough to slash apart his armor using chi. In an attempt to catch him by surprise, Wonder Woman ensnared Ares with her golden lasso. Deciding to bank on this opportunity, I too darted in, landing a series of rapid strikes on him with the All Blades, each blow calculated and precise. Empowered by the chi coursing through me, my reflexes and strength were further heightened. Each of my sword strikes was powerful enough to cut down even the biggest or hardest of rocks, and paired with the All Blades' fiery hot flames, it was enough to easily put quite a few deep, burnt scratches on Ares' armor. But unfortunately, Ares was not some ordinary foe, he was a literal god. After noticing the deep scratch on his armor, he just laughed with a sound that could easily send shivers down anyone's spine. You fight for a world that crumbles under its own flaws. Mortals are weak and pathetic. They are easily swayed by their greed and other useless emotions. However, gods like me, they are perfect. Serve under me, human, and one day, you will be the strongest mortal in the world. You will have everything you will ever desire: money, power, women, everything. Join me and we can conquer this land together. Ares offered while swinging his warhammer at me, which I was able to just barely avoid in time. That would have been a very good offer if I didn't have all of those already. Also, you should at least stop trying to kill the person for a few moments when you're making an offer, I advised, while mentally wondering how the guy ever managed to make a team with Hercules. Diana, who was silent till now, decided to make use of the situation to try and catch Ares by surprise. She quickly took off the golden tiara from her head and hurled it towards Ares like a boomerang. Slicing through the air like a sharp blade, it headed straight for the god's throat, but before it could do its intended job, Ares effortlessly deflected it with just a single smack of his hand. You too cannot defeat me, no matter what you try. Even if I haven't recovered to my peak or gained back most of my original powers as I had during the First World War, I am still a major god nonetheless, the god of war. And if you don't remember, there is a war happening right around us. I am among my element, and I am growing stronger the more we fight. He roared with a dark chuckle. Okay, this definitely changed things. I thought to myself. You underestimate humans too much, and most important of all, you underestimate me too much, I answered before deciding to stop holding back anything. I always preferred keeping a few hidden cards up my sleeves at all times, but unfortunately, this wasn't such a time. Defeating an evil god of war who just admitted that he was potentially getting stronger every second was much more important. Deciding not to waste any more words on him, I lunged at him with blinding speed. Deciding to use raw strength rather than blades, I de-summoned my All Blades while a huge amount of my nanobots instantly began to accumulate near my fists, forming a pair of oversized gauntlets that hummed with energy. As I struck Ares with a chi-infused punch, he didn't even try to block me, placing his complete belief on his armor, which was a major mistake once again on his part, since my superhuman strength combined with my chi and the innate strength of my armor was enough to push him quite a few steps back, forcing even Ares to stagger momentarily. But I still wasn't done. Taking advantage of his momentary stagger, I got a couple more hits while targeting his head and neck. Each of my strikes was precise and successful, aiming for what looked like weak spots in his armor. Seeing me do so, Diana too decided to follow my cue as she again used her lasso to wrap around Ares' entire body. "Surrender, Ares," Diana urged, trying to use her Jedi mind trick through the lasso. But the god of war didn't even twitch at her words. However, even though he remained visibly calm from the outside, he was still very much annoyed by Diana's attempts to bind him. Seizing the divine rope, he began to exert his own force to counter its power, infusing it with his own divine energy in the form of sizzling lightning to actively resist its strength. As raw energy continued to course through the lasso, a peculiar magical charge started to build up within the magical tool, intensifying with each passing moment until the lasso of submission could no longer contain the growing power. Finally, after a few more seconds, an immense surge of divine energy erupted outward from the lasso with a resounding boom, manifesting as purely chaotic lightning and thunder. The huge surge of resulting energy successfully pushed Diana and her lasso away from Ares, but it also created another opportunity for me as it failed to completely push me away, courtesy of the nanobots I was currently using to stand my ground. Rather than being overwhelmed by Ares' might, I chose to delve deeper within myself, focusing on harnessing the true power of my chi against the Olympian god. As I reached into my inner chi reserves and directed this energy throughout my body into one specific location, it accumulated in my right hand, hardening and slightly expanding my muscles there while covering it with a light, cyan-colored aura. "Block this, bastard," I exclaimed as I delivered an extremely powerful right hook straight into Ares' face, causing a mini sonic boom while forcing even his knees to buckle under the impact. Even his now slightly dented helm appeared to have loosened from his head under the force of the single punch. A blow with the combined strength of my chi, the natural superhuman capabilities of my body, and the innate strength of my armor proved too much for Ares to stop completely. It was more than about 150 tons of force in a single punch, which was quite a lot for the current Ares. Of course, this was only effective because Ares was nowhere near his original power. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't even have flinched if I had hit him with the same strength when he was at his peak. "Diana now," I instructed with an urgent voice, following which Wonder Woman, who had somewhat recovered from the energy explosion in her lasso, again used it to bind Ares. But this time, she had started using most of her strength from the very start compared to how she was holding back before. It looked like she had learned well from her defeat. "Here," I said as I resummoned my all blades and threw one of them towards her before quickly moving behind Ares. What are you?" Ares tried to exclaim in confusion, but before he could understand what was happening, I had already plunged one of the fiery blades into his back, seeing which Diana also understood the assignment and followed suit as she pierced her new burning blade into Ares' chest with a primal cry. "You yourself said that only one of divine blood can kill you, so I just made sure that there are no loopholes here," I answered with an impassive face. Both the all-blades seemed to have pierced into the war god's heart and were actively burning his body, trying their best to destroy it to a crisp like what the pair of immortal-slaying twin swords are supposed to do. "Ha ha 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 ha. Do you think that you too have one? Do you think it is that easy to win against a god? No, you are far from victory. I am a god, a real god. There is no defeating me. War will always exist, and as long as it does, so will I. I am inevitable. Bruce Wayne POV, even if you two kill me today, I'll still come back, stronger than ever. And when I do, none of you will survive what I am going to do to you. Any of you won't even be able to live past today. Do you truly think we just came here to declare war on you blindly? No, me and my golem army were just a small part of the plan. The mighty Amazons will lose today, and we will definitely win, no matter what." Ares blurted out as a thin line of blood oozed out from the side of his mouth. "However, if you agree to become my servants," he somehow uttered with a painful grunt as different parts of his body continued to burn up under the power of the all-blades. "Not interested." I interrupted him before completely impaling my blade through him, forcing Ares to release a terrifying and painful scream before his body began to dry and burn up like a piece of hot coal. That was really easy. It almost seemed like he was going to get an upgrade or something. I couldn't help but think to myself while wondering how one of the most powerful gods in the Greek pantheon could suddenly become this weak. Even if he were once defeated by Zeus and later sealed away by a Wonder Woman substitute, he still shouldn't be this weak, right? Why did you kill him? He was going to tell us his plan. And what if he was telling us the truth? What if killing a god has its consequences? What if he comes back stronger somehow? Diana, who had seen the death of an actual god for the very first time in her life, could not help but ask with uncertainty, her tone aggrieved with worry. Diana always held a steadfast belief in the Olympian gods. For her and her sisters, these deities were not just their guardians, but also the very creators of their race. She had never encountered a tale of a god dying so effortlessly at the hands of a mere mortal before. In fact, she could swear that she had never heard any of them ever succumbing to such a fate like this before at all. Don't worry, Diana. If you hadn't realized, Ares was just supposed to be a distraction. Hercules is supposed to be the one to complete the core plan, and it seems that Ares is banking on the fact that Hercules will succeed in his mission and somehow again revive him back from the dead. Or wherever gods go when they die. All in all, Ares seems to be a hardcore fan of Madara. I concluded. Who? Is he supposed to be another god? Wonder Woman asked with a slight tilt of her head. No, I don't think so, unless there is a thing like the god of cool dialogues. Although he was the sworn enemy of a god, the god of shinobis to be exact. Shinobi? What's that? Diana asked with genuine curiosity. Psi**. Remind me to introduce you to my culture later. Now let's go. I have a sense that your mother might require our help. I cryptically stated as I pointed towards the direction the queen had earlier rode off in order to fight her most hated archenemy. Initially, I was quite surprised by the fact that Hercules would suddenly taunt Hippolyta for no reason at all and lure her to someplace else to fight her personally despite having once been defeated by her thousands of years ago. Honestly, there was even quite a good chance that Hippolyta could beat him once again if they had a one-on-one battle. So, why would he take such a risk and fight her directly like an idiot? Had he truly become so foolish because of his hatred? Or maybe, just maybe, Hippolyta has something that he needs for his plan to succeed, and he is somehow sure he would win against Hippolyta no matter what. The monster army still hasn't stopped coming through the portal, Bruce. We need to figure out how to close it, otherwise, my sisters will gradually be overwhelmed by their endless forces. Are you sure that defeating Hercules will be enough to put a stop to their march? Diana questioned in a worried voice. I am pretty positive. If what I suspect is really true, then we will be able to stop them soon enough. I answered while firing up the suit's repulsors at the bottom of my feet to fly to where Hippolyta was currently supposed to be battling Hercules. If what I surmised about Hercules' plan to battle Hippolyta was accurate, then we truly need to hurry up. I urged before remembering that Wonder Woman could not fly. Should I carry you? I wasn't able to complete my words as I noticed the champion of Themyscira effortlessly following after me while floating in the air. You can fly? I asked her in surprise. Magical boots of Hermes. It can give its wearer the ability to fly as well as to run on water. She answered with a proud smile as she gestured towards the stylish boots she was wearing, which looked like they were made of some sort of metal like the rest of her armor. Walking on water, huh? That's cool. Anyway, let's go then. We need to reach your mother before she gets her, but hand it over to her. I warned. That's rude. My mother will definitely not get her behind handed over to her. She is much stronger than you think, and even stronger than me. It would be extremely hard to defeat my mother, even if it were World War time Ares himself going against her. Diana retorted, looking slightly offended at my words. I hope she is. Because whatever plans Ares had made with Hercules, the war god seemed quite confident in them. I explained as we both exited the forest while flying closer to the beach where Hippolyta was supposed to be fighting Hercules. But the closer we went to the area, the more suspicious the situation seemed. Hippolyta had followed Hercules to a different area out of the main battlefield because she had expected their battle to be quite brutal and destructive. She didn't want any other Amazon to suffer or get injured in her battle. In fact, we too had expected to feel the side effects of their battle the closer we got to their battlefield, but quite contrary to our expectations, we sensed nothing. We couldn't even feel the slightest sound or tremor which indicated that a battle was happening between two demigods. Instead, all we could feel was a dominating aura of a single person, someone who seemed to have already won the fight. By Hera, this aura, it feels like the presence of a god, someone who hasn't been weakened like Ares was. But it shouldn't be possible. According to the treaty, gods aren't supposed to come down to the mortal realm anymore without an explicit reason. Diana gasped. What you are feeling isn't a god's true power, Diana, but Hercules at the peak of his strength. It seems like he was able to win the one-on-one battle against your mother somehow. I corrected while motioning her toward the buff figure of Hercules, who looked even more muscular and bulkier now, standing over an injured Hippolyta. Parts of her armor seemed to have been destroyed while her sword and her spear lay broken on the sand, fragmented into pieces. Her skin itself had multiple injuries on it, making her look like she had been beaten black and blue by the demigod son of Zeus. And the way she was holding the side of her stomach and chest, it looked like quite a lot of her bones were fractured as well. Hercules, on the other hand, didn't look much better. Despite being the one who seemed to have won the battle, multiple injuries were visible on his body, as well with one of his hands being twisted in a weird position. But what made his situation different from Hippolyta's was that his injuries were actively healing, his wounds disappearing from his flawless skin like they were never there. Even his broken hand twitched a couple of times before correcting itself on its own. However, another thing that immensely surprised me was the power that was emitting from him. It strangely felt similar to Ares' own divine presence, only stronger and more intense, more primal. It almost felt like Hercules was a stronger god of war than Ares himself, at least the Ares that I had faced just now. Wait, is he wearing Mother's girdle? Diana asked, pointing to the large belt Hercules was wearing around his stomach, the same WWE-style belt that I had once seen on Hippolyta. Why is that supposed to be important? I asked with a frown while looking at the golden belt that seemed to be radiating with a strange power. That girdle once belonged to Ares himself. After his betrayal, Zeus forcibly took it from him and gave it to my mother instead as a token of appreciation for her loyalty. It is supposed to give its wearer the strength of 10,000 elephants. Although that is most probably a rumor, since I had never seen her being able to use that much strength before. Diana explained before she quickly flew in to save her mother from Hercules' further assault. Maybe. Or maybe the rumor wasn't completely false. I could not help but think out loud as I used my transparent world vision to properly see the power emitting from the belt, the power that it was passing on to Hercules. Even the chi generated by my superhuman body felt minuscule in front of the life force that the girdle was passing on to him alone. It was like comparing a thin stream of water compared to a raging fountain. Sensing its power, I could not help but wonder, what if the belt was more than what it seemed to be? What if the belt wasn't just a fancy accessory for a little strength boost, but instead something that contained something very important that Zeus had forcibly snatched from Ares after the war and given to Hippolyta for safekeeping? What if the girdle was supposed to be the key to this entire thing? And here I was getting happy on being able to defeat Ares so easily. Turns out he wasn't even the main boss.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.